In the year 2025, ancient tombs suddenly appeared all over the world. Deep inside these structures were powerful items known as relics, and these exact artifacts completely turned our entire world upside down. Take right now, for instance, when elite soldiers run into an intruder like Hoen, they immediately raise their weapons, panicking and screaming at him to stop. Over there, get him. Mythological figures, legends, folk tales, and even best-selling novels, these legendary items practically walked right out of the stories passed down for ages. Most of them turned this world into a living hell, but not in this life. That is because Hoen has become the absolute king of those powerful relics. As a supreme being, getting spotted by mere humans only makes him smirks, easily baiting those fools into chasing after him. Meanwhile, those clueless soldiers are desperately stepping on the gas, trying to keep up with this mysterious intruder. He is entering the tomb, follow him and do not let him escape. Hoen does not even bother looking back at the chaotic scene. He casually stretches his hand behind him, conjuring a massive stone wall to block those frustrated soldiers. Damn it, the entrance is blocked! Once the secret door is completely shut, Hoen finally lets out a deeply satisfied sigh. Now he wonders what kind of rare relic is hidden deep within this tomb. He is so incredibly excited that he ignores the loud rumbling sounds behind him, happily whispering his anticipation to himself. I am seriously looking forward to this. Now check this out. Sometime later, inside a towering skyscraper, a highly intense meeting is underway, with Kangdu rambling on through his presentation. Moving on to the next item on our agenda, we need to discuss Hoen using relics for his personal gain. I mean, since he will not even grant us permits to research the tombs, should he not also stop entering them whenever he pleases? I am pretty sure I have brought this up with you all before. Hearing this, Sheha nervously reaches into his inner coat pocket to try and salvage the situation. Too bad Sun immediately spots his shady move. Sheha. Meanwhile, Ilya tries to hide his awkward expression by taking a slow sip of cold water. The captain is simply going around to inspect and verify the relics beforehand. However, Sun A suddenly speaks up, using some completely blunt and unfiltered language that catches everyone off guard. Before the other researchers can enter, he goes and sweeps them up. This blunt confession makes Ilya choke on his water, while Kangdu raises an eyebrow in disbelief. What? Their reactions force her to change her story immediately. Oh no, I mean he is trying to evaluate the danger level beforehand for the sake of the other researchers. Too bad that lame excuse only makes Kangdu fly into a furious rage. Danger my foot. That guy has already hoarded every single original relic and stuffed them into his personal warehouse. And get this, he even went ahead and named the tomb he raided yesterday the waiting room of the Tomb Raider King. Just as the argument reaches a boiling point, Hoen's punchable face suddenly appears on the large screen, startling everyone in the room. What? Is that the captain? Before anyone can utter a single word, he clears his throat and fires away. Why are you guys not picking up your phones? Do I really have to resort to hacking just to get in touch with you? As Sun A awkwardly stammers that they are currently in the middle of a conference, Hoen instantly shifts his tone. Oh, is that today? Well, keep up the good work then. Julian knows his habit of hanging up mid-chat too well, so he slams his hands on the table. Do not hang up. Where are you? And what were you going to say? Meanwhile, Hoen just smiles calmly, acting as if the extreme tension on the other end is absolutely no big deal at all. I was just thinking about changing my title soon. Tomb Raider King sounds a bit too basic, does it not? How about Tomb Raider Emperor instead? Anyway, since you guys are in a meeting, just call me back later. I am heading into a tomb now. Julianne desperately screams out as things go off script. Wait, another tomb? Are you hoarding more relics again? Too bad Hoen intentionally cuts the connection right away to escape those awkward questions that would have left him completely speechless. Sun A is the first to snap back to reality, speaking up sheepishly. Let us just move on to the next item on the agenda. Exhausted by the whole scene, Kangdu merely sighs and nods in agreement. Let us do that. Meanwhile, having wrapped up that brief phone call, Hoen excitedly looks around his surroundings. This is the final chamber. I wonder what kind of master ruled over this tomb. The system quickly displays the details of the sword he just picked up, Acid Venom Fang, double S-tier consumable relic. This immediately brings a look of sheer disappointment to Hoen's face. Still, a pretty powerful weapon just dropped, which is actually a good sign. But Hoen's quiet rambling is cut short when the three-legged crow suddenly manifests inside this small chamber. What is going on? You do not look very thrilled. Despite just receiving a god-tier hidden relic, the crown of the almighty crow, Hoen finds his true thoughts exposed, making him reply with some awkwardness. No, it is just that this tomb is massive. I was honestly hoping for a supreme-tier deity relic to show up, like Ra the sun god. Hearing his words, the crow burst out laughing immediately. Greedy as always. Yet, far from feeling embarrassed, Hoen eagerly explains further. Hey, this is not simply about being greedy anymore. It is not like that at all. Every parent wants to leave only the absolute best things behind for their children, right? Earlier at the university hospital, a doctor was gently guiding Ain through the tiny ultrasound photo in her hand. You can see the gestational sac right here, correct? Congratulations, you are 5 weeks pregnant. Hearing this wonderful news, an emotional Hoen immediately tightly embraces his wife. This sudden display of affection makes Ain blush as she smiles warmly in the hospital hallway. As for Hoen, he rarely sheds tears, but he emotionally whispers how happy he is. "Thank you so much, I am incredibly happy." Ain waits for him to finish, laughing softly before replying that she feels the exact same way. The young couple walks out of the clinic, their hearts filled with thoughts of their upcoming blessing. Maybe I should ask the relics if it is a boy or a girl. We will find out in a few weeks anyway, right? But I want to see our baby as soon as possible. Hoen, you have absolutely zero patience. This leads to a hilarious reality where Hoen brings an ultrasound photo straight to the office, staring at a future he never even dared to imagine. This is seriously magical. His goofy, overjoyed expression completely irritates Chulian. "Hey Hoen, focus up. The least you can do is some actual work while you are stuck here in the office." Hoen puts on his classic smug voice to complain that he is experiencing the sheer magic of life right now, yet Chulian just throws cold water on him. This sarcastic attitude makes Chulian even more furious as he screams back at his boss. "That is exactly why I told you to go home and do that. Do you not see this massive mountain of paperwork? This is the direct consequence of the so-called Almighty being raiding tombs all day long. At least help me sort through these book-type relics. You are officially banned from leaving the office until you finish sorting this entire pile." Faced with Chulian acting like an absolute drill sergeant, Hoen cannot help but let out a deep sigh. "Fine, I will do it." Seriously, this guy Chulian is getting more and more irritable as he gets older. Is it because he is getting older and still single? Poor guy. Let us see, these are official documents and those are low-grade relics. Suddenly, Hoen completely freezes as he spots a very strange book hidden right among the paperwork on his desk. As for this one, it is a rulebook that suddenly reveals its true sly form to strike up a conversation with the Chosen One. "Hello there." Now watch what happens next. It instantly creates a dark barrier, completely isolating Hoen from reality. All of this is just so the rulebook can speak to him in absolute privacy. "It is a pleasure to meet you. Almighty being number 187,487. You have been granted the right to participate in the battle for the supreme throne." Hoen finally finds a chance to speak, voicing his complete confusion. "What on earth are you? You are just spewing complete nonsense." Unfortunately, the rulebook quickly ignores his question to clearly present its own view on the matter. "I do not take questions before participating. You must choose one of three paths: submission, purge, or abandonment." The Book of Laws briefly explains each option. Submission registers humanity as resources for the relics. Humans will become nourishment for the relics, but the world will thrive with abundance. The sovereign gets relic protection. Ready to sacrifice humanity? Purge grants the sovereign erasure power, wiping out anyone you dislike to build a perfect utopia. Or you could fight yourself. Finally, abandonment means keeping the status quo. No protection from human relics. You will have to handle the contracts on your own. Or will you just stand by and watch the world rot away? Hoen tries to process all this heavy info, clicking his tongue in pure frustration. Every single option sucks. His annoyed reaction only makes the Book of Laws chuckle, offering a seemingly polite reminder. "Well, that is pretty awkward." But instead of backing down, Hoen clears his throat and fires back, "Shut up. I do not care what kind of game you are playing by showing up out of nowhere. I have already proven my power as the sovereign. Any further fighting is completely useless and meaningless." Hoen, refusing to give a straight answer, actually shuts up the Book of Laws for a few tense seconds. Then it murmurs back with a dangerously polite tone. "Can you not make a choice yet? I see. You will regret this very decision." With that threat, the Book of Laws snaps Hoen right back to reality. After hearing those chilling words, Hoen frowns in pure anger that was a seriously bad omen. He abruptly storms out of the room, leaving Julian totally bewildered and calling after him. "Hey, what is going on? Where are you going? Is the job done already?" Hoen does not even pause, tossing back a cold reply, "I am going home, so do not look for me." This blunt exit makes Julian absolutely lose his mind, yelling in frustration at his boss. Later that night, inside Hoen's home, the Grand Vaha Palace, he sits quietly with closed eyes, trying to clear his mind after that tense and fateful encounter with the Book of Laws. For some strange reason, Hoen slowly opens his eyes. There she is, a little girl waddling straight toward him. Na happily reaches out, calling for her daddy. That happy call makes Hoen burst into a joyful laugh. "Are you really my daughter? It is you. Getting that fertility relic was worth the hassle." But this happy moment is suddenly cut short. Na reaches out to grab Hoen's hand. "Daddy," she whispers. Then, golden spiritual energy leaks from her fingers, and she freezes in complete terror. Then in a flash, the peace shatters. Look at that chaos. Hoen is left completely panicking on the spot, shouting out what on earth is happening. Na doesn't hear him, sobbing hysterically. Spiritual energy tightly wraps around her body. "What do I do? No! Please don't forget me, father. I must be born to protect you." Na desperately reaches out to Hoen, begging him not to forget her. But before she can touch him, her tiny body violently explodes, creating a massive, blinding shockwave that tears his dream completely apart. That horrific sight snaps Hoen awake, gasping in terror in the dead of night. Trying to catch his breath, he wonders what that was. With a bad feeling, he rushes his wife Ain to the hospital, where Hoen asks in deep confusion, An ultrasound? But you do not have an appointment today. Did something happen? Hoen just scratches his head, unable to explain. Luckily, Ji-hoon skips the questions and gets straight to work. I understand. Let's take a look. But then the doctor completely freezes. How is this even possible? The doctor's trembling voice immediately turns Hoen's confusion into pure raw anxiety. Is there something wrong with my baby? Ji-hoon's hesitant response causes his wife Ain's heart to completely skip a beat. The baby is gone. How could only the child completely vanish like this? It makes absolutely no sense. It is too bizarre. Ji-hoon's blunt and shocking words force a panicked Hoen to search his memories. He remembers his daughter's painful crying face. Just think how sick this is. The despair of this little family is literally just a joke to the Book of Laws. I told you that you would regret this, didn't I? This crushing sudden truth forces Hoen to play strong, holding his grieving wife Ain tightly in his arms. Ain's body is completely fine, yet their unborn baby has vanished without a single trace. How is that even possible? It completely defies all logic and natural laws of the world. Reeling from the massive shock, Hoen tries to gather his thoughts. He clears his throat and commands Thread of Elysia, manifest right now. This A-rank relic, normally used to connect with unborn babies to sense their state, immediately appears looking quite flustered. How many times do I have to tell you, Your Majesty? I am not a relic meant to check the baby's gender. Hoen shakes his head solemnly, completely shutting down the relic's complaint. That is not why I summoned you. I need you to check on my child. Though it is a strange request. Alicia's Thread reluctantly agrees. Understood. Searching for target. Found her. Don't worry. The child is still alive. However, she seems to have been transferred elsewhere. In other words, she is currently in a state where she cannot be born. That bizarre answer makes Hoen instantly panic. What? Transferred? Where to? Seeing his frantic expression, the relic says what it is thinking. Such knowledge is far beyond my power. Sometime later, long before dawn breaks, Hoen shows up at his office. Offering zero explanations, he immediately barks an order. Restore this, you have exactly 10 seconds. Chai-ha can barely process the sudden command over his own heavy, exhausted sighing. Seriously, what is so incredibly urgent at this ungodly hour? For complaining, Chai-ha immediately gets whacked on the head. This is an emergency, stop whining. That sharp scolding wakes Chai-ha right up, making him yell back. I mean, you skipped all our events, just to go clear some dungeons, and now you drag me to the office to dump a mountain of work on me? His angry rant is cut short when Hoen speaks up calmly. My daughter was kidnapped. Chai-ha freezes, asking in utter shock, wait, how can an unborn baby get kidnapped? Before he can finish, Hoen throws a bunch of items right at his face. Now that you understand, get to work and restore them. Rubbing his head to ignore the pain, Chai-ha looks at the items in confusion. They look like pillows. Morpheus's pillow and the Dream Key 1 Critica notebook. I found a useful ancient Greek relic to decode dreams, but their durability is completely drained. I have to lie down to use them, so Julian, you will be the one decoding the dream. Hearing his name called, Julian immediately speaks up. Wait, how do we even use these? Morpheus is the god of dreams in Ovid's Metamorphoses. He delivers dreams to sleeping mortals, sometimes using them to convey important messages. Based on that myth, this pillow relic can replicate any dream the user once had. Then they will decode it using this notebook relic, the Onira Critica, also known as the Interpretation of Dreams. It was written by the scholar Artemidorus and is considered the oldest surviving dream journal in existence. Julian listens to Hoen's plan, clearing his throat before asking a quick question. So Julian will use the notebook. Hoen nods without hesitation. That is right, and I will use the pillow. But before he can finish, Chai-ha slams his pen. As everyone turns to look at him, Chai-ha proudly boasts that the restoration is complete. A moment later, with the next phase of the plan fully prepared, Julian clears his throat, visibly tense. Now let's get started. Hoen is quickly pulled into a deep sleep by the magic of the pillow. Thanks to this, it slowly drags out the very dream that has been deeply troubling its user, projecting it so everyone else in the room can see it with crystal clarity. Especially Julian, the dream reader waiting with a grim expression to decode what is about to appear. Right at that very second, the scene of Ju-hyun's first encounter with his daughter flashes vividly in front of everyone. Terrified, trembling, Nawu's panicked voice suddenly echoes through the open room. What do I do? The relics keep saying I shouldn't be born. Father, please remember me. Those desperate pleas are instantly swept away by a bizarre vortex of raw energy. Unable to handle the intense shockwaves of the dream, Julian's glasses suddenly shatter on one side. Ju-hyun snaps awake, sitting up with a heavy, exhausted sigh. Damn it. Even the pillow blew up. Jae-ha is practically crying as he complains about how much damn effort he spent trying to restore that relic. At the same time, Irene rushes forward out of worry for her husband, asking if he's okay, but as Ju-hyun awkwardly mumbles a reply, feeling incredibly embarrassed in front of his colleagues. I'm fine, don't worry about me. But that only makes her hold him even tighter, crying out what she'd do if something actually happened to him. Ju-hyun sighs wearily, muttering that he's completely fine. Wait, why can't I see anything? He asks to check his sight. But Irene still doesn't believe him and just clings to him even tighter. But watch this, Ju-hyun quickly sidesteps that endless nagging loop. He shifts the conversation right back to Julian, so what did the dream actually mean? Julian, still highly annoyed about his shattered glasses, looks pretty disgruntled. Still, Julian answers right away after consulting his dream decoding manual. This is definitely the work of those damn relics. After all, the child in your dream literally mentioned them herself. She said the relics told her she shouldn't be born. Jeha, hearing this for the first time, is visibly confused. The relics? Why the hell would they do something like that? Wiping the stray glass shards off his face, Julian mutters in sheer frustration. According to this reading, it's because the power of this unborn child is simply too massive, or at least, that's how the relics themselves have judged it. That immense power manifested itself in the form of a dream. Julian picks up his broken glasses, ignoring the tense stares in the room, and adds that since these S-rank relics shattered just from trying to hold that dream, the source must be insane. Which proves it. Whoever is behind this must be at least SS rank. Those final words instantly make Juhyun release an incredibly dangerous aura. An SS rank? Are we talking about a god-level relic? Right at that moment, the rulebook appears once again, isolating him from reality. And it tells him exactly. You struggled so hard, yet you ended up with absolutely no useful information, didn't you? I would have gladly pointed you in the right direction if you had just opened your mouth to ask me. The book's sarcastic, awful timing makes Juhyun growl in pure fury. You absolute bastard. But before he can even spit out his curses, the rulebook flashes a dark, sinister grin. See the consequences of delaying? That is what happens when you hold back on this policy. Are you finally ready to choose now? It quickly displays the 3 previous choices and then cheerfully adds, if you find it too hard to choose, let me give you one more option. If you choose negotiation, that would be an absolutely wonderful choice. It allows you to coexist with the relics while bringing prosperity to your world. Juhyun reads the details of this new option. Negotiate to gain the authority of the 12 adjudicators. Become an adjudicator to manage relics across all timelines, allowing negotiations and transactions with them. Under the system's protection, the Majesty and his family will enjoy eternal safety and prosperity. He immediately falls into deep, calculating thought. The balance between these options has been so blatantly, shamelessly rigged from the start. They are clearly trying to force his hand, leaving him with no choice but to negotiate. What the hell are these bastards actually planning? After who knows how long, Juhyun finally clears his throat and speaks up. I have made my decision. Hearing this, the rulebook immediately laughs in pure satisfaction, ready to chat. You probably guessed what choice he would make, right? But the moment his real answer escapes his lips, bloodbath, it is the one response that catches the smug rulebook completely off guard. As the rulebook stammers in complete confusion, wait, aren't there other options that look way better? Like negotiation. For example, Juhyun firmly states his stance before it can say another single word. My nature is already pretty aggressive anyway, so a bloodbath is the absolute perfect option for me. Realizing Juhyun has absolutely no intention of changing his mind, the rulebook can only sigh and mutter a few disgruntled words, if you say so. First, I will grant you the Annihilator effect. Now you have the power to destroy absolutely anyone you want. Who do you want to destroy first? Want to see a list of recommendations? But when Juhyun coldly states his target, all of you relics, the rulebook completely panics and screams in horror. What on earth are you saying? You cannot do that. Relics are not allowed to be targeted for deletion under any circumstances. You absolutely must choose humans as your target instead. Watching it throw a tantrum does not make Juhyun feel any better. Cut the chatter. I am not changing my mind. In response, the rulebook angrily flips its own pages like crazy just to vent its sheer frustration. As the Majesty whose duty is to protect the relics, how dare you say such blasphemous things like wanting to destroy all of us? Only now does Juhyun reveal his true dangerous reason for choosing a bloodbath. You damn relics dared to kidnap my daughter, a child who has not even been born yet. Give her back to me right now, or I will personally bury every single one of you under the dirt. Those words quickly hit a nerve with the rulebook, which suddenly adopts an incredibly annoying, superior attitude. You should have chosen a much wiser path right from the very start. I knew it. It is truly impossible to reason with a guy like you. The negotiation has officially failed. We will consider your choice as a complete refusal. The rule book quickly vanishes after making that final statement, throwing Juhyun back to reality where his worried team members are currently surrounding him. Juhyun's face instantly twists in pure rage as the rulebook's mocking, arrogant laughter echoes in his mind. A major disaster is about to strike. Let us see how you survive out there without any help at all. When Juhyun spits out those angry, venomous words, that absolute bastard, his sudden outburst immediately causes quite a bit of confusion for both Julian and Jaeha. Huh? Me? Why are you suddenly swearing at me? Why did you jump up like that out of nowhere? Have you even been listening to what I have been saying this whole time? Juhyun simply sighs and admits he was zoned out, which visibly irritates the two of them. Oh, come on! We are in the middle of an absolute crisis and you still have time to daydream like this? Only Irene senses that something is deeply wrong and speaks up to ask what is going on. He rubs his face tiredly, letting out a weary sigh. Honestly, I do not know either. What on earth is happening out there? Before anyone can say another word, someone frantically pounds on the door from the outside. Captain, are you in there? Jaeha blinks in confusion, asking instinctively if that is Chloe. What is wrong? Tense and out of breath, she delivers the bad news: we have a major emergency. As Juhyun's heart starts racing with anxiety, Chloe quickly delivers the most critical piece of information. Something extremely bizarre is happening to the citizens outside. The kidnapping of Zhu Heon's unborn daughter, unfortunately, was just the absolute beginning of this massive wave of disasters. The very first anomaly they notice is the sudden appearance of dozens of ownerless relics. These bizarre items are the exact reason Guanbum is forced to work overtime right now. So, this relic just suddenly appeared inside your pocket? Guanbum does not even need to think before replying immediately exactly, "Nobody gave it to me. I swear I have never seen this thing before. Did someone slip this into my pocket? I just held it so I won't get sick, right? Is this some kind of terror attack?" His loud panic instantly makes Hongdi snap and yell at him to shut his mouth. "Hey pal, if you're done turning it in, get out of the way." That one complaint triggers a wave of angry shouting from the crowd behind him, all stuck waiting in the exact same miserable line. "Yeah, keep it moving. I just want to drop off this stupid relic and get the hell out of here." Seriously, how did this many relics suddenly flood the entire city anyway? Can't you see the massive line back here? Move it. This endless chaos means the workers at the guard headquarters are definitely not getting off work anytime soon. Julian quickly breaks down the harsh reality of their situation to his partner. "Look, this is just what we managed to drag in today alone. The sheer scale is unreal." But Hoen is focusing on a completely different detail. Relics are just spawning out of nowhere without any dungeons appearing? That makes absolutely no sense at all. He lifts a box of gear and turns to his longtime ally. Reporting them to the guards like this is actually the best-case scenario. The real danger lies with the idiots who find these random drops and try to use them. They have absolutely no idea what kind of cursed side effects these things carry, and disastrous incidents are already starting to pop off. That's exactly why he can't help but speak up. Now get this, here's where the mystery really gets crazy. Even the Sky Eye system can't identify these items, even though its database is supposed to cover every single relic on Earth. So if the system can't recognize it, then officially this shouldn't even exist. To prove her point, Ilya drags Duhon straight over to a nearby scanner so he can see the glitching data with his own eyes. Scanning, unable to identify this relic does not exist in the Sky Eye database. Just when they think things couldn't get any worse, CL bursts straight into the scanning room with a dire update for Hoen. "Captain, we have a massive anomaly on our hands. Scheduled events from the future are somehow being accelerated. A relic that wasn't scheduled to be excavated until next month just spawned inside the museum on its own. We are also getting bizarre news broadcasts reporting future deaths. High-profile world leaders are apparently dropping dead left and right, and we are scrambling to verify the data. Oh, and by the way, the system literally reports that you are scheduled to die on the 18th of this month, Captain." That last part instantly gives Hoen goosebumps. What? No way, that is creepy. But right as those words leave his mouth, the power shuts down and the entire command room goes completely pitch black. The automated Sky Eye voice blares out, announcing a power failure and initiating backup systems. Hoen is left standing there, completely caught off guard by the sudden blackout. What is it this time? Everyone stares tensely at the emergency projection screens lining the walls. Sonus and CL are the first ones to break the heavy silence. A total blackout? Yeah, this is bad. Even the brilliant Hoen has to ask the obvious question here. What on earth is going on? Cut to a power plant in Colorado where things are about to get wild. A massive surge of lightning erupts from the facility, triggering a chain reaction of explosions in the dead of night. Workers scramble for their lives as the whole place goes up in smoke. The Zeus relic is completely out of control. Everyone evacuate right now. Meanwhile, Zeus stomps his foot in pure rage, his voice echoing through the ruins. "Where do you think you are running, you human scum? Tell me where that arrogant bastard is, the one who insulted me. This time, I will." But before Zeus can even finish his threat, Hoen casually strolls onto the scene, looking completely exhausted. "Looking for me? Everyone else, get out of here." The terrified workers don't know who this kid is, but they aren't about to stick around and ask questions. "Thank you, Captain." Once the civilians clear out, Hoen takes his sweet time mocking the raging god. "You lost your most important part, but you still look pretty lively, don't you? So lively that you still have the energy to throw a temper tantrum like this. Don't you want this back? I already told you I will only return it if you behave yourself." Seeing the stolen piece of his divine body, Zeus completely snaps and unleashes his power to attack the enemy right in front of him. "Give that back to me, you miserable little bastard." Instead of backing down, Hoen charges straight ahead into the fire. But the exact moment his fist connects with Zeus's furious face, Hoen freezes up as he suddenly realizes something is seriously off. Before he can react, Zeus delivers a counterpunch that sends him flying. Hoen manages to land on his feet, his mind racing in complete shock. His dominant skill didn't work at all. Why? Honestly, the fact that this guy broke his own seal and escaped was already completely ridiculous right from the start. This must be the fourth anomaly CL was talking about. Honestly, you can't help but laugh at his confidence here. Zeus cuts his thoughts short, laughing loudly. "Look at you, mortal. You aren't as strong as I thought. Now I'll teach you a lesson you'll never forget." Knowing this god is a different beast, Hoen summons his ultimate trump card, the Throne of Hera. "I hate to break it to you, but dominance isn't my only trick. Besides my dominant skill, I have countless other ways to absolutely crush you. I spent a lot of free time researching relics, you see. Trapped by the throat, Zeus can only choke out muffled, angry noises. Suddenly, the golden throne spins right around, whipping out heavy, unbreakable bindings that tightly lock his massive limbs in place. Within a split second, the mighty god of thunder panics as he realizes he is being forced onto Hera's throne. What is this? Why is my divine power being sealed? Finally, Hoen regains his usual smug look and casually starts to explain. That is the double S-rank throne of Hera, your wife's relic. It is basically a reform tool designed to force you to keep even your smallest promises. And when it comes to cheating on your marriage, the binding strength of this thing increases by 1,000%. In mythology, how many affairs did you have again? The threat instantly hits home as Zeus begins sweating bullets and stammering. No, stop this. Take this thing off me right now. But Hoen has no intention of letting him go, casually searching his pockets for another toy to show off. Whoa, don't get so excited. I also brought along a relic from another one of your wives, the divine overturning wisdom of Metis. And yes, this one is also double S-rank. Metis, the goddess of wisdom and strategy, was Zeus's very first wife. But when a prophecy warned that her son would surpass him in strength, Zeus literally swallowed her whole. But Metis was already pregnant, and she actually ended up raising the child right inside his own stomach. Luckily for Zeus, that baby ended up being a girl instead of a boy. Later, when Zeus suffered from an absolutely splitting headache, he ordered Hephaestus to crack his skull wide open with an axe. Out stepped a fully grown, fully armored goddess right from inside his brain. That legendary figure was Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war. While Zeus is still processing this newly summoned weapon, Hoen quietly drops a few chilling words to completely shatter what is left of his confidence. Just the relic itself is terrifying enough on its own. But what if I shape-shifted into this? Getting bashed in the head by this thing is going to feel absolutely amazing, don't you think? He leaps high into the air. Hoen winds up a fist boosted by Metis' divine wisdom, aiming it straight at Zeus's face. Let's see if you can birth a son from your skull this time. Zeus goes pale with absolute terror, screaming for him to wait. Hoen doesn't hesitate for a second, slamming his fist straight into his opponent's head. Zeus is almost instantly knocked out, a single tear of pure regret slipping from his eye. But Hoen has absolutely no intention of stopping there, following up with a brutal, crushing uppercut. One punch was never going to be enough. He grins, satisfied to finally vent his frustration, while Zeus falls backward, completely defeated by the sheer impact. The battle is over in a flash, letting Hoen breathe a heavy sigh of relief. He looks down and grunts, "You should have just stayed quiet and kept generating power. Who did you think you were rebelling against? Now go restore him." Cheha suddenly rushes onto the scene and immediately starts yelling, "Seriously, did you really have to beat him up this badly? All you had to do was put the relic on his head. Why did you have to turn it into a gauntlet and beat him half to death?" Without a second thought, Hoen shuts him down completely with a cold reply, "Because I wanted to hit him. Stop complaining and just go restore him." Realizing there is no escape, Cheha sighs in frustration. What a terrible life. Why are you always so eager to beat up Zeus like this anyway? You even completely ripped his clothes right off. This just makes Hoen snap back, telling him to shut up, leaving Cheha grumbling to himself that he only ever knows how to say that. Little do they know, someone is watching them from above under the bright moonlight. He really is completely ruthless when it comes to relics. Filled with twisted excitement, the Cheha from another timeline lets out a cold laugh. That is right, this is exactly how it should be. Staring intensely at Hoen, he whispers that things are about to get incredibly interesting. Just rebellion has been crushed, but deep suspicion remains. First, why on earth did the power plant's suppression system fail to activate? Second, how did Zeus's binding seal shatter? Could all of this really be the work of that strange book relic? Can a relic with that kind of terrifying power actually exist in this world? But before we can even get those answers, things get really weird. Hoen hears a sudden drama broadcast blaring from the television and cannot help but let out another heavy sigh. Why did that thing turn on by itself? Right after that question, the alternate dimension Cheha, disguised as a mysterious host on screen, cheerfully welcomes everyone. Hello, a very warm welcome to you all. Welcome to today's execution broadcast. The current body count sits at 0. That is because the main event has not officially started yet. The camera slowly pans out, revealing a massive stadium packed with thousands of spectators. The appearance of 3 legendary Greek gods, including the double S-rank god of destruction and evil, and Oxyit, the double S-rank god of rebirth, along with Anubis, the double S-rank god of funerals, leaves Hoen completely bewildered. What is this? Those Egyptian bastards, what kind of sick, twisted game are they trying to play over there? Right then, Cheha bursts into the room, completely ignoring whether Hoen heard him knock or not. "Captain, we have got a massive problem on our hands. Every single phone and computer out there is broadcasting this live stream, and we cannot even shut them down. And it is not just us. Every computer inside the guard headquarters is facing the exact same thing. Even all the public billboard screens outside are broadcasting this show. It is just as they feared, as if someone has hacked into every single screen on Earth. With this exact same horrific broadcast playing everywhere at once, you can only imagine the sheer panic spreading among the public. But the situation takes a turn for the absolute worst, especially when the alternate Chaha raises his voice. Now shall we finally begin passing judgment on these guilty sinners? Oxyet quickly unleashes his divine magic. The moment Sung Kang is dragged onto the execution stand, the alternate Chaha clears his throat to introduce their very first death row prisoner. This man captured and cruelly took the lives of tiny innocent creatures, then spent 7 long years running from justice. Do you all agree to execute him? Almost instantly, the bloodthirsty crowd in the stadium roars in agreement. Kill him! Kill him! The alternate Cheha smiles, whispering into his microphone, brilliant guilty. Those words leave Sung Kang trembling in absolute terror as the sound of the approaching Grim Reaper's scythe draws near. Clean, terrifying slice echoes, leaving Cheha completely pale with fear. Holy crap, they actually went ahead and killed him. Just when they think it is over, the alternate Cheha drags Minhuk up onto the same bloodstained spot. Now, let us move on to our second prisoner. This guy pretended to starve just to steal extra relief supplies 3 times. His crime is disrupting the fair distribution of resources. Do you all agree to execute him? Unfortunately for him, the crowd's reaction this time is not quite what he hoped for. Wait, that is it? Is it not a bit too extreme to execute someone over that? Well, he lied, so just kill him anyway. That final shout gives the alternate Cheha all the excuse he needs to happily execute Minhuk. Perfect, then he gets the death penalty too. Watching this horror unfold, our Cheha begins to panic, his hands shaking. What on earth is wrong with these absolute lunatics? They are literally murdering people on screen. Boss, are we really just gonna stand here and watch this happen? This is going to traumatize the entire world. Only now does Duhan finally let out a heavy sigh. We cannot just do that. Suddenly his entire body freezes as a line of text scrolls across the screen. A split second later, Duhan frowns deeply and speaks up. That does not look like a normal phone number at all. This leaves Cheha tense and confused. Then what is it? Driven by sudden curiosity, Duhan immediately hits the call button. We will find out once we call, he says. But wait, that single call literally cracks the ground wide open beneath them. Suddenly, Duhan and Cheha find themselves plummeting straight into the alternate dimension. While Duhan lands perfectly on his feet, Cheha faceplants hard like a total amateur. Duhan quickly regains his composure, staring at the blood-stained guillotine towering right in front of them. As Cheha panics and stammers, asking who these guys are, Duhan remains perfectly calm and whispers to himself that his hunch was spot on. Duhan instantly summons his weapon. Standing in front of tens of thousands of onlookers, he takes his stance, determined to shut down this pathetic circus act. Right before their eyes, he completely shatters the guillotine, declaring that it ends right here. Unexpectedly, his bold move draws loud, chaotic jeers from the crowd. An intruder! Someone is trying to stop the trial. Taking advantage of the chaos, the alternate Cheha immediately cuts in, speaking with supreme confidence. Now there is no need to get so angry, everyone, because our very next target has just arrived. This person dared to mock the judges, manipulate the relics, and place himself entirely above the gods. The moment the alternate Cheha delivers the final verdict, guilty Duhan narrows his eyes, waiting for his enemy to act. As the enemy drops a colossal guillotine blade from above, Duhan effortlessly catches it with a single hand. What is the rush? Under his overwhelming pressure, the blade suddenly begins to crack apart. He easily crushes the murderous weapon into dust before addressing the crowd. Why do you bastards not step up and face judgment yourselves? This single display of raw power leaves those 3 gods absolutely terrified. Before anyone can make another move, Duhan charges forward. First up is the fugitive god Oxyet. Guilty, he delivers a devastating kick to his head before immediately pivoting toward the remaining 2 sinners. For daring to bare your fangs at your master, guilty, and Anubis for being an accomplice in this pathetic scheme, you are guilty too. Unfortunately, right after Duhan finishes them off, the alternate Cheha effortlessly revives the 3 gods. Well, you are pretty good, but that is far from enough to stop actual gods. Surely you know that by now, right? No matter how hard you struggle, you can never stop this execution. This unscripted development naturally makes Duhan more serious than ever, realizing that something is deeply wrong here. Are these bastards seriously forcing me to fight with the intent to tear them completely to shreds? For some unknown reason, he suddenly recalls a powerful SS-rank relic he happened to pick up during their previous encounter, the Poison Fang of Isis. It is a relic capable of neutralization through an incredibly unique method. Among the countless titles granted to Isis, she is best known as the goddess of magic and strategy. One day, Isis sent a venomous snake to bite the sun god Ra. Seeing Ra in absolute agony, she offered to heal him, but on one condition: he had to reveal his true name. That true name is the very essence of his power and existence. Eventually, Ra's true name was uncovered by Isis, who then passed it down to her son Horus, further solidifying his divine reign over the gods. Lightning charges straight at Duhan before he can even recover. What do you think you can actually do with a tiny blade that looks like a toothpick anyway? He quickly pulls out the venomous fang of Asit to uncover his opponent's true birth name. Thanks to this, Duhan completely flips the battlefield, calling down a brutal strike on the lost soul. That is your true name, isn't it? Your name holds absolutely zero power here anymore. With just a single effortless slash, Duhan sends Osiris into total panic as his brother is instantly wiped out right before his eyes. What on earth? But Hoen does not keep him waiting, immediately shifting his focus right to him. You are next, he says, because Osiris Asa is not exactly a secret name around here. Getting taken out of the game before he could even do anything useful leaves the only survivor on stage, Anubis, completely pale with absolute terror. Fortunately, after dealing with the previous two traitors, Hoen can chant the god's name while unleashing his deadly weapon. Inpu, ruler of the tomb, sounds pretty grand, does it not? With this, he completely erases him, ensuring the guy can never revive in the future. With the battle decided, only the nameless underling is left standing. At that moment, Cheha sighs and mutters to himself, saying, "Seriously, Captain, I literally told you to go easy on them. Good grief, if I have to restore these guys again, I will throw a fit." But Hoen does not say a word, cold-bloodedly ending his opponent with one final strike that sends the entire crowd into a panic. Hoen completely ignores their panic, focused entirely on dragging the ugly truth out into the light. "And you, the one who dared to wear my subordinate's face to pull this stunt. You are guilty." Suddenly, the fake Cheha laughs like a maniac as his face begins to melt away like hot wax. This creepy sight forces Hoen to scan the entire arena with pure contempt. He knew it, every single person in this place is nothing but a fake copy. That realization forces the mastermind behind all this to shed his disguise and step into the light. Just when you think it cannot get any weirder, look who shows up. He praises Hoen's sharp instincts for spotting the fakes, leaving our hero utterly stunned. What the hell, how is another Cheha crawling out of that duplicate's shell? Hoen stops mid-sentence, furrowing his brow as he falls deep into his own thoughts. No, this guy might not be Cheha at all. Forcing himself to stay calm, he demands to know what the hell he is doing. He asks Cheha why he hid those dogs and created these fakes. The alternate timeline Cheha waits for him to finish before giving him a quick compliment. He tells him that while he is quick to understand, he is not the Cheha Hoen actually knows. Seeing his opponent raise a hand, Hoen yells out in complete disbelief, "That thing when the absolute hell, did you even steal it from me?" That comment makes the alternate Cheha click his tongue, leaving Hoen looking down at his hands in confusion. "Wrong again," he says. "This belongs to me. You are not the only emperor around here." Finally, Hoen glares at the man standing before him. Realizing he is dealing with a truly worthy opponent, he demands to know who the hell he is, which only makes the alternate Cheha smirk with absolute satisfaction. Before long, the alternate timeline Cheha is casually chilling right in Hoen's office. This bizarre sight leaves the captain's closest colleagues completely stunned and unable to process what they are seeing. As a sudden silence washes over the room, the real Cheha panics, asking what the hell this clone of his is doing there. Julian does not deny it, simply noting that they look completely identical to each other. Their intense curiosity forces the alternate Cheha to clear his throat and stand up. "Pardon me," he says, "but our core presence is actually completely different from one another." He claims to be an emperor from another timeline, having stood at the absolute peak of his own world. Hearing this, our Cheha instantly bristles and snaps back, asking so what. He proudly states that their captain is the true king here, but this only makes the alternate Cheha burst out laughing, saying Hoen is an incompetent king who cannot even see his world is on the brink of destruction. With that, he tosses out 3 highly familiar relics, causing Cheha to narrow his eyes in sheer disbelief. "Wait a second, those are definitely ancient Egyptian relics." The alternate Cheha calmly explains his intentions. "You should actually be thanking me," he says. "I stole these and kept them safe before their seals could be completely broken." Hoen frowns deeply and demands to know why on earth he should thank a thief who dared to touch his relics, even asking if he was the one who released Seth. The alternate Cheha just laughs, slowly walking right up to him. "Do not be so foolish," he responds. "The very relics behind this disaster are what freed him. I am only trying to prevent the seal from being shattered completely. If a god-grade relic gets completely out of control, this world is finished. It will end in total destruction, looking exactly like my own ruined world did. The more I look, the more I see how thriving this timeline is, packed with relics and humans. It would be a real shame if it got wiped out." Honestly, hearing this gives you chills, and Hoen immediately demands answers. "You keep talking about total destruction, so what exactly do you mean by that?" The alternate Cheha does not even hesitate to lay out the cold, hard truth. "Exactly what I said, there are currently god-grade relics out there actively laying waste to entire worlds." But before he can explain any further, an uninvited guest suddenly manifests right out of thin air inside the room. "I think I know exactly who those culprits are. This is Chun, the cradle of the Emperor and a SSS-rank relic." Hearing this, the alternate Cheha falls into deep silence to process the information. The cradle, a relic rumored to exist as only one single pair across all dimensions. He thought to himself that he had searched everywhere for it, only to find it sitting right here. He immediately mocks the newcomer, pointing out how incredibly peaceful this cradle seems while other worlds are actively drowning in destruction. Chun remains completely unbothered, calmly speaking up just as his duty requires him to do. "I am simply protecting the proof of the king who successfully passed the trial of the gods. Tell me, sir, have you ever heard of the original creator of these relics? He was a primordial blacksmith, the one who forged humanity's legends into tangible relics." When the mighty entities born from human worship and ancient memories began to look down on humanity, that blacksmith fought them directly. He forged them into tools that humans could safely wield, creating the relics of today and establishing the very order of our world. Shun pauses for a moment before dropping a critical piece of information. However, some stories absolutely refuse to be part of this order, completely rejecting their existence as simple relics. They cast off their relic forms, returning as raw legends with the sole ambition to dominate all of humanity. Once he finished speaking, the alternate Cheha slowly walks over to the floor-to-soiling window, hiding his true emotions from the room. You can call them gods, he says, because the ones leading this massive rebellion are all rogue, god-grade relics. Gaia, Enki, Vishnu, and Nuwa, those are the exact four. They represent the supreme gods of the four great ancient civilizations, right? Only now does Hoen begin to piece it together. No wonder. I always wondered why relics from such massive mythologies never actually showed up in our world. Hearing this unconscious remark, the alternate Chaha looks at him with newfound respect, asking if he also noticed this strange anomaly on his own. He quickly recalls his past encounter with the three-legged crow before slowly summarizing his side of the story. Yes, whenever a new dungeon appears, I am always the first to inspect it. I do this because so many god-grade relics are still missing, yet every time I return completely empty-handed. Hearing about this heavy topic for the first time really made Jae-ha speak his mind. So it turns out you didn't just clear those tombs for fun after all? Joo-hyun completely ignored the crowd around them, slowly and calmly carrying on with the conversation. There really had to be a reason why those enemies hadn't shown up here yet. It turns out they were too busy orchestrating a massive rebellion somewhere else. Their ultimate goal wasn't just a single world, which the other timelines Jaha immediately nodded to confirm. They tear through dimensions, reaching their hands into every single world they find. Their main goal is simple total destruction, or absolute, crushing control. That heavy piece of information forced Joo-hyun's closest companions to gulp as quietly as they possibly could. Just as the entire room fell into a tense, suffocating silence, Joo-hyun suddenly spoke up to break the ice and shatter the quiet. Did they destroy the world you used to live in? The other Jae-ha didn't even need a single second to think before confirming it. Yes, and just as their conversation reached its most tense peak, a strange, roaring noise suddenly echoed from outside. The clear blue sky instantly began to change its color, even as the eerie sound continued to rumble. The bizarre shift in the atmosphere immediately made Jae-ha freak out and yell, "What on earth is happening?" The other timelines Jae-ha took one look outside and turned completely pale with sheer terror. For the first time in his life, he was staring at a massive rift in space-time hovering right in the air. What kind of monster is that? Law itself had officially appeared on Earth to put the other Jae-ha in his place. You cowardly majesty, hiding like a rat, did you really think fleeing to this timeline would save you? Running is completely useless anyway, since this place is already destined to be thoroughly cleansed. As he hurriedly rushed up the stairs to the higher floors, cursing that they followed him all the way here, Joo-hyun did his best to chase after him to manage this critical situation. Are those really the relics of the four great civilizations? Akashic records, locate them, and find their characteristics and weaknesses, all of them. Unfortunately, the system quickly delivered a harsh truth. Sorry, but they cannot be found, leaving Joo-hyun looking completely baffled. What? No way. The Akashic records quickly revealed a crucial piece of information he had absolutely no clue about. These enemies simply do not exist in this world. Only then did the other timelines Jae-ha desperately scream out, "That's right, they don't belong to this world, so using that thing won't have any effect at all." Hearing this, a panicked Joo-hyun could only yell right back at him. Then how can we possibly fight them? We at least need to know their location to launch a counterattack. But check this out. Right as the tension hits its peak, Law suddenly unleashes its massive trump card. The law book spoke, its familiar mocking voice suddenly echoing through the air. "We meet again, Your Majesty number 187487. Let the first curse begin." Julian quickly turned around to warn Joo-hyun, telling him to be careful because the four great civilizations are using that book to destroy the timelines. He instantly froze in place, his brain completely failing to process those words. As Julian tried to explain in confusion, Joo-hyun could only ask what on earth he was talking about. Seeing his confused face, the law book gleefully presented its tragic tower card. Too late. By the time you realize what's happening, this world will return to the silence from before language was ever born. It even graciously allowed Joo-hyun to read the details of this terrifying curse. The curse of the Tower of Babel has been activated, completely cutting off all mutual understanding and communication among humanity. Every form of language, including talking, commands, and mental connections, is now beginning to collapse on a global scale. Reading those chilling lines made him break out in a cold sweat. The entire world? Suddenly, massive towers began sprouting from the ground everywhere, throwing people into a panic as they babbled in completely unrecognizable tongues. Witnessing this horrifying sight for the first time left Joo-hyun slightly shaken. Every single method of communication across the entire globe has been severed in the blink of an eye. This is an absolute catastrophe. Right now, wars are likely breaking out, and countless hospitals are stuck right in the middle of critical surgeries. Ju-hyun is so anxious he doesn't even notice his back is already soaked in sweat. What about air traffic control? If the countless planes currently in the sky can't get any guidance on their flight path or altitude, it's going to end in a massive, deadly disaster. With that terrible thought, Ju-hyun quickly turned to the friend standing next to him, telling Ilya to freeze time. But he only got the exact same blank reaction he had earlier, forcing him to let out an annoyed curse. Suddenly, the system brought Ju-hyun a silver lining while language is being blocked. Although verbal communication is completely shut down, relics can still be used normally. He knew exactly who was behind this and smiled, muttering that the crow really is the absolute best. Did you honestly think I would give up this easily? Manifest now, see his childhood pen. Even if we can't talk to each other, I just need to force you to take action. Ilya Volkov then unleashed Solomon's demonic relic, utilizing its incredible power to completely freeze time across the entire world. Except for their team members, everyone froze. And the moment Ju-hyun stopped writing, Ilya's eyes flashed. He quickly surged his internal energy, letting out a loud roar to summon a Hell Knight. As soon as Phuket appeared, he asked a rather meaningless question, asking if they wanted to behold a world where time had completely stopped. Since nobody could answer him, Phuket used his power to lock down time across the globe. Birds were frozen mid-flight, and people were caught right in the middle of their panic screams on the ground. Everything across the globe suddenly came to a dead halt. This created a strange, eerie silence that the Earth had not experienced in tens of thousands of years. However, Ju-hyun stood unaffected by Phuket's rules, letting out a heavy sigh as he observed that everything had stopped. Pigeons in the sky were stuck with wings that couldn't fly, and humans were completely helpless under this massive time freeze. The entire world was now imprisoned in absolute silence. Ju-hyun let out a soft sigh of relief as if a heavy burden had been lifted, noting that everyone except them was completely frozen. However, Seola and Julian still lost their voices like everyone else. The law book seemed quite amused by this suddenly peaceful scenery. It's absolutely unbelievable that you stopped the disaster this way. The three below instinctively looked up at it with high guard, wondering if that book wasn't frozen too. Hearing this, it replied with heavy sarcasm. How could I ever be affected by such a mediocre relic? But since you managed to stop it, I'll reward this world with a few extra points, though you won't be able to stop what's coming next. And here comes the next blow. The curse of Visvakama to Seal Tools begins. The moment it finished speaking, a massive skyscraper of a tower erupted violently from the ground. That bizarre sight forced Ju-hyun to let out an immediate curse, complaining that it was a green tower this time. Even Seol-ah silently cursed in her mind, though she had completely lost her ability to speak. A bad feeling washed over Ju-hyun, forcing him to look down at his hands. The phone he was holding was suddenly radiating a massive, terrifying energy, making him wonder what on earth was happening. It wasn't just him who was panicking, as everyone shared the exact same dread. Seol-ah was completely frantic. Suddenly, the crow shrieked in intense pain and collapsed, giving Ju-hyun a massive fright as he yelled out. The law book casually began lecturing them. The reason humans and beasts evolve differently comes down to two major things. First is language, and second is tools. Now, I will strip both away from you. The moment it stopped speaking, the system instantly flashed a warning that Visvakama's curse had been activated. It would seize and completely deactivate all tools and relics currently linked to humans. Visvakama, the legendary god of crafting in Indian mythology, is said to have forged all the weapons and tools of the gods. Ju-hyun thought to himself that with his curse active, every single tool was being destroyed. The transceivers of the anti-terrorist squad were completely deactivated. This curse was turning out to be far worse than the previous one, and even a surgeon's scalpel was not spared from the destruction. Once time starts flowing again, Hoen does not even need to think to guess the consequences. Human civilization will collapse, but will it affect the relics too? Hoen immediately seeks the answer right from the source of all this madness. Hey, you blockhead book, why are the relics sealed up too? The Book of Law casually replies that it is because they are tools, and that should be totally obvious. Trying to control Shakespeare's childhood pen in his hand, Hoen grits his teeth and snaps, asking who the book is trying to fool. He is clearly struggling to control it, shouting out in anger that these are actual relics. He commands them to remember how they were all created. Sona and Ilya are shocked to see Hoen treating the artifacts this way. Writing is the axe that reshapes thoughts, and stories are the drill piercing through time. The Akashic records in his hand glow brightly with his words. Proving records are an immortal blade. Any relic born from language, memories, and stories will break completely free from this terrible curse. Hoen's summoning seems to work even on the crow as he exposes the Book of Law's plot. He calls out that the book claimed the curse only disables man-made tools. He asks if it is trying to bind the relics on purpose, demanding if it thought he would fall for that. Getting caught makes the book absolutely furious, forcing it to confess about things not made by humans. The book agrees to treat the relics as an exception, but hearing those arrogant words makes both Julian and Sona want to jump up and tear it to absolute shreds right then and there. Suddenly, someone dashes past them from the back door, rushing straight toward the Book of Law. As the figure becomes clear, it turns out to be Jeha, holding Solomon's earrings in his hand. Hoen knows that is an S-grade relic that lets you hear anything, though it is currently sealed. That is it. Since the Book of Law just lifted the first curse, Julian can finally speak, asking Sona how it is going. Sona happily says they succeeded and can communicate now. Hoen quickly signals the man next to him, telling Ilya to burn the book. With a cold, mirthless smile, Ilya simply replies, "Understood." His shout tears through the air as he commands the Lord of Fire, Pyriphlegethon, to step forward. Ilya's powerful voice summons hellish flames to reduce everything in their path to absolute ash. Pyriphlegethon spews blazing hot fire, leaving the Book of Law coughing violently from swallowing the thick smoke. The book is shocked, admitting it never expected him to dodge the second curse like this. Yet the book still seems to be in pretty good shape, defying Hoen's calculations. It is literally just a book, so how did that massive fire attack do almost zero damage to it? Ilya's demonic relic is practically god tier already, so Julian is completely stunned when the Book of Law speaks up, wondering if they can survive the final 2 curses. Hearing this, Jeha starts clutching his head in pure panic. 2 more curses. The Book of Law gloats proudly, declaring it will unleash a total of 4 curses upon this world. It smugly wonders just how many of them this local monarch can actually stop. If you stop them all, this world line will not collapse. Du looks over at Jeha beside him, his heart sinking. As the world line faces destruction, the Book of Law continues to act smug. Then let us move on to the next curse right now. The Curse of the Nile, which blocks all written records, has officially been activated. Look at this bookstore's throw into absolute chaos under the weight of this new curse. The book mockingly reminds him that he just protected their relics when tools were blocked, as every single letter slowly vanishes from the books. As things escalate and even world maps start to evaporate, the Book of Law keeps taunting Hoen, asking if he can still use those relics. Right on cue, a system warning confirms the Nile curse has officially begun. It completely erases all records of the relic's origins, making them impossible to use. Right in front of Hoen, Jeha looks completely lost, and the usually cool Ilya suddenly looks like an absolute idiot. Ilya asks what his own name is, and even Julian fails to recognize the relic in his hand, asking what it is. Hoen never expected things to get this incredibly bad. Realizing their minds are being wiped, he angrily yells that he cannot just stand by and watch this happen. Beside him, Jeha points out that only the monarchs still remember how to use relics, keeping their memories intact. The gods of the 4 great civilizations used that exact book, the Book of Law, to destroy previous world lines. Every world he knew fell exactly like this, with humans turning into idiots who ultimately destroyed themselves. Overjoyed by this memory, the Book of Law cannot help but brag about its past success. It boasts that their extinction plan is flawless, but Hoen suddenly lets out a cold, mocking laugh. He realizes that the first curse was the Babel curse, meaning it belongs to Babylonian myth. So the first one fell under Mesopotamian myth, and the second was Vishwakarma, representing Indian myth. All of these curses are tied directly to the 4 great ancient civilizations. This one is the Nile curse, meaning an Egyptian god is behind it. He mockingly guesses it must be their supreme deity who has yet to show himself, smiling confidently at the Book of Law. Could it be the sun god? He notes that using the relic of Isis would work beautifully here. Seeing him pull this off, the Book of Law gasps in shock, calling him a total cheater. Hoen completely ignores its complaints and charges forward anyway. Mocking the cheating accusation, he leaps around like a wild baboon, triggering absolute panic in the book as it desperately screams for him to stop. With a cold smirk, Hoen asks the bastard what he thinks he is doing as he lunges straight for the first golden tower. Striking without holding back, he leaves the Book of Law absolutely terrified. And just like that, the cursed tower shatters into 100 pieces. A system alert pops up, confirming the Nile curse is broken, dispersing the divine power, and finally lifting the seals. Letters fly around Hoen as he touches down, and the dazed look on everyone's faces instantly begins to fade. The letters fly right back onto the library shelves, returning to where they belong. Jeha looks down at Shakespeare's childhood pen in his hand and happily shouts that he remembers how to use it now. He bursts out laughing at the completely blank, stupid look on Julian's face. Still staring at the letters dancing wildly in midair, Jeha cannot help but gasp, telling Seo Hoen that he is absolutely unbelievable. Keeping his usual cold gaze, Hoen watches as everyone suddenly snaps out of their deep trance. Their memories and records are rushing back, with letters flying back onto pages as if they had never left. Taking a deep breath, Hoen immediately yells out for Heaven's rope to come to him. Hearing its master's familiar voice, the loyal rope dashes straight toward him as quick as lightning. The SSS-rank relic happily clings to him, but Hoen playfully scolds it, asking where the hell it was stuck during all this chaos. The rope just cuddles up to him like a puppy. The rope whines that a strange energy suddenly bound it so it could not move, making it feel totally suffocated. Hearing this whimpering, Hoen finally understands what actually went down. He reasons that since the rope was created from a story, it was naturally dragged into the Book of Law's curse. Meanwhile, the Jeha from another timeline watches them approach before speaking up. He admits he has never seen anyone dodge this disaster before, prompting Hoen to smugly raise an eyebrow and ask if he is impressed. But suddenly, a pitiful voice interrupts them. The Book of Law complains that it cannot understand how these lowly humans are still trying to resist after losing their language and tools, though it admits this local monarch is actually pretty impressive. It mutters that no wonder those gods tried to recruit him. Plotting another dirty trick, the book sneers that since Hoen still has some hope left, it is going to crush it right now. Instantly, the system announces the Curse of Fuxi has been activated, designed to wipe out all hope in life. Hoen never expected the Book of Law to pull such a massive move. The Curse of Fuxi definitely represents Chinese civilization. He knows Fuxi was the legendary figure who taught writing to humanity and introduced the Bagua, allowing them to predict the future. Fuxi's obsession with peering into the future has warped into a dark curse, completely crushing any sliver of hope right now. Hyun just stands there letting out a cold, mocking smirk. The name sounds grand, but it is pretty abstract compared to other curses. Jae-ha realizes things are no longer simple. No, this might actually be the most dangerous curse of all. Look at the state of your world right now. People cannot communicate, and every single tool is completely destroyed. The exact second time starts flowing again. Absolute chaos will explode. In this world where only relics can be used, what do you think hope even is? At those words, Jae-ha unconsciously points directly at Hyun. It is you. Because, without our king, even relics become totally useless. The Book of Laws drops its bitter tone from earlier. Spot on, it says right now, the only ray of hope for this entire world is indeed you, King. In other words, if you die, this world where only relics function will be completely helpless. So, from this very moment I am going to eliminate the one holding that final ray of hope. Hyun is absolutely furious at those words, snapping that a stupid book could never pull that off. But just as he charges forward, something suddenly pulls him right back. Both Hyun and Rope are instantly bound by its dark magic. The system flashes a warning that the myth of destruction has been activated to eliminate the king. Everyone panics, crying out to ask their captain what is going on. The Book of Laws gloats, telling him that since his story is reaching its end, he should just hand over his heart. But its wicked wish is instantly cut short as Rope fiercely strikes back. Rope's devastating counterattack triggers an absolutely earth-shattering explosion. Even she seems pretty shocked by her own massive power until she hears Hyun coughing, asking her what on earth she is doing. Rope quickly shifts into her human form, declaring she will protect her master. But Julian and Ilya immediately shout back in furious protest, snapping that they all almost just died. The Book of Laws absolutely hates this annoying distraction and fires a deadly spell straight at Ilya, declaring it will not hold back anymore. Its terrifying tentacles whip forward with absolutely mind-blowing speed. Completely helpless, Hyun can only watch as the attack rushes straight toward him. In a flash, the tentacles impale his body, making Seola scream out in sheer panic. Jae-ha's face goes completely pale as they all desperately yell out for Hyun. Their leader is subjected to agonizing, body-shattering torture as the Book of Laws brutally rips the legendary monarch's heart straight out of his chest. It laughs in pure ecstasy, gloating over how perfect this is. The creature even mocks Hyun's terrified teammates as they watch their captain fall in absolute horror. It admires the heart, calling it beautiful, and a major relief that at least one curse finally worked after all those annoying tricks he used to bypass them. Meanwhile, Rope desperately shakes Hyun, choking back her tears as she calls his name. She begs her master to please wake up and stand, while someone in the squad screams to quickly bring a healing relic and call Chloe over immediately. The Book of Laws gloats, thoroughly enjoying this heartbreaking scene. Without your king, do you honestly believe you can protect this timeline? One of the crew members asks in complete confusion, wondering what on earth it even means by protecting it. It mockingly asks if they truly believed the disaster was over, warning that periodic trials will now descend upon this world. Number 187,487. Rope grinds her teeth in pure rage and furiously lashes out at that bastard, screaming that she will never forgive him. But it completely ignores her attack, calmly explaining that passing a trial yields rewards, while failure brings pretty heavy penalties. In a way, I am the game master, and you all are just my NPCs. But right then, Rope's furious attack successfully wraps around and squeezes the Book of Laws. Its entire body is engulfed in her blazing flames. It starts to panic as she slams it violently into the ground, screeching to know what on earth she thinks she is doing. Wait, calm down. It begs if you stop even one of the 4 disasters, you get a special privilege. Honestly, watching Rope violently slam this annoying book around right now is just so satisfying. The Book of Laws finally tastes real terror. Fine, it whimpers. You used some pretty cheap tricks, but a block is still a block. So combining the first 3 disasters gives you 3 major privileges. Is that not a massive steal? But Rope has absolutely zero interest in wasting time chatting with it. What on earth are you talking about? She yells as she delivers another series of potentially fatal slams. Ouch. Fine. I get it. It cries. I will count the green tower as cleared and completely remove it. Once released, it grumbles in annoyance that it is impossible to communicate with these brutes. I am leaving now, and garbage like you can never hold me back. Rope cries out in sheer confusion, realizing the annoying book has completely vanished from sight. As soon as the book vanishes, a massive dark circle appears in the sky. Chloe suddenly runs over from somewhere, shouting to ask if anyone needs a healing relic. Rope quickly rushes back to her master Juhyun, but suddenly, a loud, angry voice starts echoing out. "What on earth do you think you are doing, you punk?" Suddenly, a massive crack tears open in midair, and, surprisingly, that angry shout belongs to Juhyun himself. Ilya stares in speechless shock. Is that their captain, or is it a ghost? Julian is equally lost in panic, stammering to ask how Juhyun is still alive, while Chloe looks over in utter disbelief. Who is lying on the ground then? As the disguise fades, Jaeha's agonizing face is revealed. Juhyun instantly rushes over, grabbing this alternate timeline Jaeha by the collar to interrogate him. "You bastard, what did you do to Jaeha? How dare you touch my subordinate?" The alternate Jaeha just smirks, asking if he has absolutely no gratitude after having his life saved. Juhyun screams in sheer rage, snapping that he could have easily handled that stupid book bastard all by himself. The alternate Jaeha just lets out a heavy sigh, mockingly pointing out that he could not even successfully summon his own relic back then. It is true that when Rope first appeared and caused that massive shocking explosion, Juhyun was actually struggling to summon his relic. But he never expected that the alternate Jaeha would use a handkerchief relic to swap their bodies, wrapping Juhyun completely before he could even process what was happening. "Wait, what on earth are you doing?" Juhyun yells, right as his face is instantly swapped with Jaeha's. Looking at the unconscious body on the ground, the alternate Jaeha coldly notes that without his intervention, Juhyun's heart would be gone. Juhyun is absolutely not grateful for this, demanding to know if he seriously sacrificed his loyal subordinate just to save his own skin. The alternate Jaeha seriously warns Juhyun that the Book of Laws is not stupid, leaving him no other option to trick it. But he reassures him that his subordinate is not dead, suddenly pulling out a cup of instant noodles. Then he says something that sends Juhyun's eyes rolling in complete shock. His soul is actually trapped inside here. "I mean, a cup of instant noodles? Are you kidding me right now? What kind of ridiculous lie is this?" But before Juhyun can even finish his sentence, a panicked scream echoes directly from the noodle cup as Jaeha starts complaining loudly. "Hey, you absolute lunatic, how could you possibly stuff a whole human being into something like this? I am a person, not food," he shrieks, completely outraged by who on earth allowed this to happen. Juhyun quickly covers the cup to stop Jaeha's loud complaining before his ears bleed. This extremely noisy behavior confirms it is definitely their Jaeha. "You really scared the life out of me, you little punk," he mutters. Jaeha weakly calls out for his captain, but Juhyun's relief is short-lived as he grumbles about why it had to be non-spicy noodles of all things, arguing that spicy flavor is the absolute best, making Jaeha shrink back in fear. Is that seriously the most important issue right now? The alternate Jaeha tries to reason with him, explaining that he did turn it into a literal god-tier relic in his own special way. "So just forget about the flavor," he says. Meanwhile, Jaeha can only lament that despite being a god-tier relic now, he still cannot believe his soul is stuck inside a cheap cup of instant noodles. Jianwoo anxiously asks Juhyun, "Captain, I have never seen anything like this before. He is not dead, even though his heart is completely gone. It is almost as if the time on his body has been frozen solid." Juhyun turns to Jaeha, asking if they can save him. Jaeha quickly gives him the answer: "We just need to get his heart back. Right now is our perfect chance to counterattack against the relics of the 4 great civilizations. They think you are dead, but you are still breathing and your world can still control and use relics. This is the only world like this. Only those who submit to them can use relics, making you an absolute anomaly. I have wandered through so many different worlds, but I have never seen anyone quite like you. You survived the disaster of Vishwakarma and Isis's venomous fangs. You even broke the curse of Gaia. If it is you, Juhyun, you can dominate the relics of the 4 great civilizations and end this apocalypse." Jaeha finally reveals his true motive for seeking out Juhyun. "Join me and let's destroy them." Jaeha stares intensely at him, reaching out his hand to form an alliance. "If it is you, Juhyun, can you really dominate those supreme relics and end this apocalypse? Let's see if our guy takes the deal." "Join me to defeat them," Jaeha says, his voice dropping low with irresistible weight. "That is the only way to retrieve the heart of your loyal subordinate, and more importantly, your precious daughter." He calmly continues, "I heard they took her away. If we crush those bastards, you can easily rescue your daughter and bring her back safely." Those words strike a raw, painful nerve deep inside Juhyun. He silently bows his head, engulfed in memories of despair, before slowly looking up and asking, "You already know where they are hiding, do you not?" Jaeha gets straight to the point without any hesitation. They are hiding in Amaterasu's domain. Juhyun frowns, his eyes widening slightly in sheer shock. "Wait, her domain?" He nods slowly, explaining that the goddess managed to conceal herself entirely to avoid being turned into a relic. Jaeha goes on, his tone completely flat, as he explains that her hidden dimension is now a sanctuary for those relics. Juhyun repeats the name in his mind, Amaterasu, remembering the ancient texts he once read. In Japanese myth, she is the sun goddess who hid inside a cave out of sheer rage when her storm god brother Susanoo threw a violent tantrum. Her sudden disappearance plunged the entire universe into absolute pitch darkness. To lure her out, the other gods threw a massive wild party right outside the cavern. Juhyun concludes she is so incredibly skilled at hiding that she even evaded relicization. Jaeha nods in agreement, saying that is his guess too, before revealing secrets Juhyun never knew. While hiding inside Amaterasu's sacred space, those ancient relics unleashed powerful codexes to systematically destroy multiple world lines and force their reigning monarchs to bow down. He pauses, adding with a chilling look, and for those monarchs who refused to submit, they ripped their hearts out. Juhyun clenches his fist in absolute rage. Those absolute psychos, what on earth do they even want with their hearts? Jaeha pauses, as if suddenly remembering something. Wait, did I forget to explain that part to you? Explain what? Jaeha clarifies calmly. From the exact moment a person ascends to become a monarch, their heart is no longer a normal human organ. He continues, his gaze turning deeply intense. It becomes the axis of the world line, the core of that universe. It is called a monarch's heart. Jaeha squinted, stating their plan. They plan to collect these hearts to reverse the relicization curse. He ends with a bone-chilling truth. They want to erase the law that turns everything into relics or mold reality into whatever they want. Juhyun frowns, wondering if such an insane feat is even possible. Jaeha nods calmly. A single monarch can easily control the laws of relics in their own realm. He continues, speaking in his usual composed tone. If they gather multiple hearts together, they can rewrite supreme reality itself. After weighing his options, Juhyun makes a firm decision. I get it. I will hunt them down to save my guy. Jaeha softly calls out Captain. Juhyun squeezes his fist, his resolve fully locked in. We will invade and crush everything. I am reclaiming my crew and my daughter. Satisfied with his boss's determination, Jaeha smiles. Now that is the spirit. Shall we set off then? I have a dimensional teleportation relic. Juhyun cuts him off. Hold on. How do you even know where the codex is? Jaeha calmly replies that he can easily track its residual energy signature. Juhyun nods, but there is still unfinished business that is pretty convenient. However, his voice drops to a dead serious tone. I must stabilize my own world before we can leave. Once time flows again, every single man-made tool will shatter instantly, making communication impossible. Juhyun immediately barks out his first direct order. First, use the flying relic to ground the planes currently in the air. Seola bows, acknowledging the order. Hearing this, Julian breathes a huge sigh of relief. Thank goodness we can handle this while time is still frozen solid. Ilya quickly brings up another massive issue. Captain, what about our communication problem? We can copy this translation relic and distribute it to everyone. Juhyun smiles, looking down at Tommy in his hands, and you already know who's about to do the heavy lifting here. After all, who else besides him can handle massive replication of this scale? Suddenly, Juhyun turns to Jaeha. Wait, you can help me out a bit here. Just then, an ear-splitting horn echoes from afar. He whips his head toward the noise, completely bewildered. What the hell is that sound? Her voice breaks in with sudden urgency. Look up there. Right then, a brilliant crimson light rips through the gloomy skies. The cold voice of the Arc de Triomphe echoes with absolute authority. This realm has lost its reigning monarch. It continues its soulless, chilling announcement. Invasion criteria have been met. Before anyone can react, the Arc de Triomphe coldly proclaims the start of the conquest scenario. Juhyun looks up at the sky in complete disbelief. What is that monstrosity? The system alert rings out immediately. The Arc de Triomphe is a SS-rank, God-class invasion-type relic. Its rank dynamically scales depending on accumulated narrative records. Jaeha frowns, explaining that a world whose monarch has died becomes a hollow void. When that happens, rulers from completely different world lines will launch an invasion to pillage all of its remaining relics. He looks up with deep irritation, muttering that the codex must have spread the news everywhere. It happened incredibly fast. That thing is absolutely insidious. Juhyun tightly clenches his fist in cold anger. Do not make me laugh. Without a moment of hesitation, he summons his divine weapon Gungnir, which the system confirms is a SS-rank, God-class relic. Pointing his spear straight at the enemy, he yells, how dare you barge in here like this? The intruder smirked. Interesting. I will pierce right through you. But in the next second, Gungnir suddenly freezes. Huh? The system alerts you are blocked by the monarch trait. This zone requires a monarch's awakening to proceed. Suddenly, a smug, highly confident voice echoes out of nowhere. Hey there. The conquest declaration begins as Mars slowly raises his hand. From this exact second onward, this entire world, he grins arrogantly, will be ruled by the great Emperor Mars O'Connell. Mars inspects the shattered world line with great interest. Let us see. The codex curses currently active here are, and the system immediately brings up all of the data. In world line B40918, the curse list of the Book of Rules Babel Tower curse is active. But the curse of Vishvakarma has just been dispelled, cleared completely. His eyes widen, utter shock spreading across his face. Wait, what? 2 curses are already dispelled? Impressive. Juhyun quickly notices the bizarre state of the world before him. Someone has actually stopped time itself. Yeah, I will have to break this first. The system's voice rings out. A majesty from another dimension has activated his supreme authority. Privilege to remove all negative status effects is activated for the entire world. Immediately, time starts moving again. Massive debris rains down from the sky, sending the crowd below into an absolute panic. Terrified people cover their heads, fleeing wildly down the streets. He immediately notices the shift. Has time started flowing again? He does not waste a single second, immediately summoning his power. We must stop him. But Julian quickly calls out to stop him, his voice filled with worry. The communication barrier is still active, meaning disasters like plane crashes are bound to happen. Mars smirks, utterly amused by this chaotic mess. Oh really? Isn't that even better? Ju-hyun freezes in absolute shock, wondering what the hell he's planning. He casually explains, as if discussing the most normal thing in the world. If humans die, their contracts with bound relics are released. That means I can easily collect a massive amount of relics. Julian grits his teeth in pure rage and helplessness. It is useless, you cannot reason with a guy like him. Ju-hyun frowns and mutters. I have heard about that method before, but his way of doing things is completely rotten. The crow chimes in to explain that bastard is doing all of this by abusing the special authority he possesses. Seal suddenly remembers something and turns to remind him. The Book of Rules left you a special privilege too. Right then, Rope squeaks in pure excitement. Oh yeah, I found this. I actually found it. Ju-hyun stares at the item in his hand, totally surprised. It is a miniature book of rules rated SSS grade. Seal quickly opens the book and says eagerly, I will summarize the key parts so it is easier for you to read. The system's robotic voice rings out, starting to list them. Privilege 1, Absolute Decree. You can wish for victory, but you cannot revive a destroyed world, bring back the dead, or create something out of thin air. Once declared, the decree cannot be revoked. Every majesty is only allowed to use this power a single time. Privilege 2, Future Regression Point, allowing you to reload time. Privilege 3, Setting Change, which lets you freely modify one rule of a world line, limited to a single category. Ju-hyun silently ponders, a look of genuine admiration in his eyes. Can it really do all that? If used right, this could be absolutely terrifying. Down below, the crowd is still in a panic, shoving and fleeing everywhere. Mars looks over the chaotic scene with a highly amused smirk. And get this, now that time is finally moving again, he is actually planning to go out and harvest more relics. Without holding back any longer, he unleashes his terrifying raw power. Mars raises his arm high, his voice echoing across the sky. Every single citizen of this world is now my slave. Start searching and plundering relics. The citizens' eyes glaze over as they kneel and chant, Long live His Majesty. The brainwashed crowd immediately scatters, shouting wildly, Find the relics to offer to His Majesty. Deliver the relics. Ju-hyun closely watches the unfolding scene. Is that the power of the Arc de Triomphe relic? Seal receives an urgent report and quickly speaks up. Captain, they are reporting that the planes are starting to move. Communicating with the control tower is completely impossible because of the language barrier. He quickly checks the flight data, and the paths are already in absolute chaos. The first crash is projected to happen in 397 seconds. He tightens his fist as panic starts setting in. Damn it, we have to handle this mess first. Ju-hyun suddenly turns to Yu Jae-ha with an incredibly serious gaze. Hey you, go craft a relic right now. Jae-ha freezes in shock. What, craft a relic? He nods, his voice completely firm. Yeah, you can do it, right? Ju-hyun continues to press him, his gaze unwavering. My relics are pretty smart, you know, and they already told me all about your special talents. He calmly lists off his achievements. You are the one who built that flashy execution stand and perfect copies of 3 god-grade relics. Ju-hyun slowly continues. In the blink of an eye, you remade Jae-ha's heart into a majesty's heart and successfully fooled the Book of Rules. With that kind of ability, crafting a single relic is obvious child's play for you. His gaze suddenly turns razor sharp. You came to my world, caused this massive trouble, and even turned my subordinate into a cup of instant noodles. You are absolutely obligated to take responsibility for this entire mess. Ju-hyun stares intensely at him, his voice carrying immense invisible pressure. You cannot run away from this. Jae-ha sighs softly, finally giving in. I get it, but I can't just make a relic out of thin air. I can only craft them based on the stories I already know. Ju-hyun points to his head and grins. Don't worry about that, everything is already in here. Ju-hyun slowly reads the sacred records aloud. Genesis chapter 11 verse 1. At that time the whole world spoke the exact same language and used a common speech. That is the opening line of the Tower of Babel story. He snaps the book shut, his eyes lighting up with a counter-strategy. Craft a relic. Using only this passage, we are going to use Babel's curse in reverse. Ju-hyun slowly retells the ancient story written inside the book. Genesis chapter 11 verse 1 is where the Tower of Babel begins. The whole world had one language and a common speech. Humanity built a city and a massive tower that reached all the way to the heavens to make a name for themselves. Continues reading, his calm voice echoing. However, the Lord came down to see it. He declared that if humans continued like this, they would become too powerful and arrogant. Therefore, he confused their language and scattered them across the earth. Ju-hyun then explains his brilliant plan. In this story, we will only use the passage written before the word however. We will create a relic based solely on that excerpt, reversing Babel's curse completely. Everyone around listens in dead silence. Honestly, you have to admit this plan is absolutely brilliant. Jae-ha chuckles with admiration, calling it incredibly devious but still an absolute genius strategy. Alright, Let's give this a shot. He raises his hand, slowly calling out the name of the relic to be born. The Tablet of Genesis, Chapter 11. Jeha channels all his power into his hands and yells, "Manifest." Immediately, a brilliant pillar of light erupts from the ground. Its ancient voice slowly echoes through the area. Now the whole world had one language and a common speech. He calmly warns him, "It is finished, but you might not actually be able to use it." Ju Hyun pauses, absolute confusion in his eyes. What? Why the hell not? Jeha starts explaining the issue. Think about it. This is a religious relic, and a biblical one at that. You need a high compatibility rate to activate something like this. Is there anyone here who can use it? Like a religious believer? He looks around and suddenly remembers. Actually, speaking of religious believers, we have one right here. Ilya points at himself in bewilderment. Huh? Me? Juhyun smiles, looking at him. Ilya, you used to be a priest, right? You probably know the Bible by heart. In terms of compatibility, you are definitely the most qualified person here. He snaps back angrily. Why are you looking at me? That was a lifetime ago. Now I specialize in demons. Seola tilts her head, delivering a very practical remark. True. If anything goes wrong, he will probably be completely helpless against Christian relics. Juhyun shakes his head. Forget it. Even without compatibility, I will just use raw domination power to force it. Jeha looks at him in utter disbelief, furrowing his brow. You, when you have not even awakened yet? Juhan smirks, his voice full of absolute confidence. What is this awakening you keep rambling on about? I have total confidence in my absolute dominance, so just wait and see. Right after saying that, Hoen immediately fires a massive wave of intense energy straight at the stone slab. A blinding flash of light erupts, forcing him to squint against the glare. The system voice quickly echoes out, activating the god-tier relic, Genesis Stone Slab, Chapter 11. Unifying the languages of all living things into a single tongue targeting humans, relics, royalty, animals, and every living creature. Suddenly, brilliant waves of light expand everywhere. Below, the brainwashed citizens are still screaming in utter chaos. As the light sweeps over them, the citizens instantly regain their senses. One man looks around in total confusion, realizing he can actually understand what everyone else is saying. Others still have no clue what just happened, wondering why they are even here. Even a stray dog nearby whimpers that it is terrified. A nearby soldier opens his eyes wide in disbelief. Huh? I can understand them now. His comrade quickly regains his composure and tells him to move out. Meanwhile, the system monotone echoes the languages of the entire world have been reorganized. Hoen sighs in relief with a satisfied smile. It worked, though it took quite some effort. Beside him, Rope starts bouncing around with excitement. Master, you are so incredibly cool. Cheha stares at him for a moment before muttering that he is a complete monster. Meanwhile, Chu gets the latest update and reports that the aircraft are successfully avoiding collisions. They report that communication is going perfectly. Hoen nods, glad to hear it. Nearby, a soldier uses a megaphone to guide the panicking citizens towards safety. Attention citizens, there is a shelter nearby. Please evacuate immediately. Far away, Mac grits his teeth, looking absolutely furious. Damn it, why is my relic not working? Refusing to accept this, he desperately tries to unleash his power again. All who are conquered, bow down and obey my will. Hearing this, a confused citizen looks up at the sky, wondering what that strange noise could possibly be. Another person looks up, wondering if it is just thunder or if it is about to rain. Hoen quietly watches their reactions, noting that history is always written by the victors. The Arch of Triumph is a perfect example of that. Hoen continues to analyze, explaining that conquest is about creating a divide between the rulers and the ruled. It only works if a hierarchy exists. He glances over and notes that this particular relic completely destroys that boundary. Rope immediately chimes in, sounding incredibly hyped up. It unifies everyone under a single language, making all living beings completely equal. A citizen looks at the people around him and smiles, realizing that they are now all equal. Others nod in agreement. We are equal. Rope concludes that the divide has been shattered. Mac, wide-eyed, gasps in complete shock, demanding to know what is happening. Hoen looks straight at him, his voice calm. Your relic relies entirely on the gap between master and servant, meaning it has now become completely useless. Mac grits his teeth, his eyes burning with intense rage. You bastard, do you really think you have won just because you managed to disable a single one of my relics? He sneers with a cold laugh, his murderous intent surging higher. This fight is far from over. Right after saying that, Mac cuts his own palm, splashing deep red blood as he raises his hand to summon something terrifying. Come forth, my allies. A strange booming voice instantly answers that it has been waiting for this exact moment as the newly summoned entity slowly steps forward. Is that a new ruler? Dusha hails, realizing Mac just called in beings from another world. The villain bursts into a confident, arrogant laugh. No matter how much you preach about equality, that thing of yours is basically just a high-performance translation relic. Max slowly spreads his arms, looking like everything is going exactly as planned. Once these extra-dimensional invaders can understand each other, this conquest becomes a whole lot easier. Ducheha freezes, his face pale as he gasps in shock. Ducheha quickly realizes the terrifying scale of the situation. Is the relic actually reaching across different timelines? There is no way. Out of all the relics ever crafted, nothing has ever possessed the power to influence multiple timelines like this. Seeing the growing dread on their faces, Mac flashes a triumphant, mocking grin. But get this. Suddenly, those helmets start glowing with a fierce red light. Hoen turns around, completely stunned by what he sees. Under his command, the helmets of Ai fly forward, instantly latching onto everyone. Quo pales and shouts a desperate warning that those are the helmets of Ai, and wearing them makes you lose all sense of ally or foe. She keeps shouting in panic, warning that they will treat every single living being as an enemy. Nearby, Chu Lian stumbles forward, his eyes completely losing focus. In his vision, everyone blurs into hostile shadow figures. Chu Lian roars, intense bloodlust flaring in his eyes as he demands to know who they are, swearing to kill them all. Mac just sneers in response. Try it if you dare. Ducheha panics, shouting out to the others, begging them to snap out of it. Suddenly, Sunna turns to him with cold, murderous eyes. Shut up, I will kill you first. She lunges in rage, threatening to boil and eat him. Cheha pales, crying out, but is relieved to see Duhoen still keeping his sanity. Thank goodness you are sane. Hoen grits his teeth, trying his best to resist the relic. I am barely holding on myself, she says, suddenly reaching out with a savage glare. Give me that cup of noodles. Ducheha watches everyone, his expression turning grim as he laments facing Z's relic in a place like this again. He grits his teeth, looking at everyone with deep worry. Chu Lian glares at the crowd, shouting at them to get lost, while Ilya, totally oblivious, rushes forward in excitement. Why is everyone panicking? Bring it on! Watching the chaos unfold, Mac folds his arms with an amused smirk, telling them all to fight to the death. He speaks slowly, his voice dripping with mockery. All of humanity is equal now? Even better. According to you, that means all social hierarchies have been completely erased. Mac greets this with a triumphant smirk, confident his relic will work even better now. Chu looks at Hoen anxiously and says he cannot seem to hear them. Quo desperately plans a different approach. Suddenly, the system voice echoes in Hoen's head, offering to activate Privilege 3 to alter settings. Hoen freezes upon hearing the alert. Instantly, the system screen flashes, displaying the detailed information of his special privilege. Privilege 3 allows him to modify any single rule in this world timeline for one specific category. He suddenly remembers his final trump card, realizing he still has this incredible privilege. Fighting to stay conscious, Hoen tightly clenches his fist and raises his ring high, letting a blinding aura explode outward. With absolute resolve, he declares that he is going to use it. Mac grits his teeth, warily staring at the light. Without hesitation, Hoen triggers the setting change power, unleashing a shockwave so violent that Mac has to shield his eyes and scream in panic. What? Even with Ai's helmet clamped onto his head, Hoen stands there, filled with pure excitement and pride, as he raises his voice to issue his command, within the territory of all Supreme God-tier relics. As the words fall from his lips, crackling lightning begins to gather in the heavy storm clouds above. And then the original helmet is struck by a devastating heavenly tribulation. As Hoen boldly declares, all lower-tier relics are completely deactivated. Watching the entire scene unfold with his own two eyes, Marcus is left completely speechless, unable to believe what is happening. There is no way Ares' helmet is breaking. Suddenly, the red helmets on the surrounding crowd begin to crack. Before anyone can even process it, the relics completely disintegrate as the master power is depleted, leaving the once controlled people utterly dazed. Julian Miller is deeply confused as his mind suddenly snaps back to normal, leaving him wondering what on earth he was just doing. But the chaos is far from over. A booming, robotic voice suddenly echoes through the entire area, declaring the awakening of Ares, the Greek god of war. The enemy tone drops low, chillingly emphasizing the threat of what is to come next. But with the god-tier double S-rank spear of Zeus firmly in his grasp, Juhyun does not hesitate for a second, flashing Marcus a smug, triumphant grin. He stands there, his face completely twisting in absolute fury. Gritting his teeth, he furiously snarls out, "How on earth do you possess a supreme god-tier relic like that? And using the authority of the law book means you are also a majesty, you bastard." In response to his opponent's realization, Juhyun does not even bother hiding his absolute confidence, dripping with pure arrogance. Naturally, the moment Juhyun's true identity is completely exposed, the hostile forces charge forward with incredibly fierce momentum. Grab that bastard immediately, their leader screams out the majesty of this world is actually still alive. System screens flash rapidly as the coordinates for the invading relics are readjusted. The system warns a reaction from Majesty Shen's heart has been detected, and immediate retrieval procedures are starting now. Watching the gap close between both sides, the team standing on the skyscraper rooftop cannot help but panic. "They are swarming us, Captain. We need to fall back and move out right now." But before they can even take a single step, the cup, Noodles Jeha in Juhyun's hand suddenly erupts with a blinding golden aura, throwing everyone around them into complete chaos. Hold on, where is all this steam coming from? Did someone splash water on him? As the one directly experiencing this weird phenomenon, Jeha is even more clueless, crying out, "Wait, no way. What is this? What is actually happening to my body right now?" Just when they think this crazy anomaly is finally over, the heavy steam pouring from Jeha's body grows so incredibly thick that it completely blankets the entire area, rapidly spreading across every skyscraper and street in the city at a visible speed. This thick screen of steam completely blinds the enemy forces. What is this? Their leader panics. I can no longer locate his heart. We have lost the target's coordinates. A flood of system notification screens pops up to explain the situation. Jaeha's survival instinct has been triggered, activating his food reserve defense and stealth camouflage ability. Joo-hyun is completely stunned by this, asking, wait, you actually possess a crazy skill like this? Right after that, Joo-hyun cannot help but playfully tease his friend with a sly grin. You really are just like a useful relic now. Jaeha can only grumble and desperately snap back immediately from inside his noodle cup. Hey, I am still a normal human being, you know? Without wasting any time, Joo-hyun gets straight to business, his smug smirk never fading. This is perfect. With this stick tilt, we can easily launch a surprise attack. Let us make that bastard finally pay for all the misery he caused. With zero hesitation, Joo-hyun summons Apophis's Venom Fang, whispering, how dare you insolently invade my world. Without even warning his teammate standing nearby, he gets ready to strike. Joo-hyun launches himself forward through the air like a rocket. Meanwhile, the enemy leader is completely lost in the steam, yelling out in frustration, where are you hiding, you little brat? The sudden rustle catches his attention, making him narrow his sharp eyes in suspicion, but his reflexes are no match for Joo-hyun, who suddenly lunges out to attack, perfectly aided by Jaeha's thick steam camouflage. With absolutely no intention of talking, Joo-hyun drives Apophis's Venom Fang straight into the enemy chest. A smug, highly victorious smile spreads across his face, confident that the battle is already in his hands. Unfortunately, even against a double S-rank relic, Marcus is still strong enough to grab Joo-hyun's wrist. Sweat drips down his tense cheek, but Marcus still mocks Joo-hyun as he pulls him close, sneering, did you think you could kill a conqueror with that tiny knife? Did you think I came unprepared without any defensive relics? But Joo-hyun merely smirks at his misplaced arrogance, giving him a chilling, calm reminder. Let me tell you, this is not just some ordinary knife. Suddenly, a surge of dark purple magic erupts from Joo-hyun's hand, leaving Marcus frowning in utter confusion. What is this? He gasps as system screens confirm Apophis's Venom Fang has been fully activated. The system declares the conqueror Marcus's true name is completely erased, and his divine majesty authority has been fully nullified. The massive Arc de Triomphe standing in the sky violently trembles as deep cracks spread rapidly everywhere. Even the symbol of his power, the mighty helmet of Ares, cannot escape its tragic fate as it shatters. With a single fatal strike, Joo-hyun successfully drives Marcus completely insane with rage. No, the villain screams my name. My supreme power, it is all gone. But Joo-hyun has no intention of letting him off that easily, clamping his iron-like grip tightly around the conqueror's throat. His long bangs shadow his face, completely masking whatever cold expression is on his face right now. A nameless conqueror is really nothing but a thief. Joo-hyun taunts him once more, his voice dripping with pure venom. Tell me, do you actually know what happens to thieves when they get caught red-handed like this? And this is where things get satisfying. Watch him drag Marcus down without a second thought. Joo-hyun slams him down with an earth-shattering impact that shakes the heavens. Marcus takes a brutal beating, turning into nothing more than a human doormat under Joo-hyun's feet. Marcus violently coughs up fresh blood as debris flies everywhere, but Joo-hyun just keeps that incredibly smug, punchable smirk on his face. After completely venting all his frustration on the enemy, he simply stands straight up, totally unfazed. You are really nothing special, Joo-hyun mutters. But he is not done with him yet. It is time for some plundering, as he demands Marcus to hand over any good items he is hiding. Then his sharp blue eyes light up with pure curiosity as he spots something shiny. Look at this, he says, picking up Atlas's sphere and inspecting it with deep admiration. You actually have some pretty decent loot on you. Having lost all his previous pride, Marcus can only stutter weakly, completely powerless against Joo-hyun's overwhelming strength. Marcus tries to desperately scramble up and reach for the sphere, yelling, give it back to me, but he flinches when Joo-hyun's voice suddenly turns playful, replying, sure, I will give it to you. Of course, Joo-hyun has something highly malicious in mind, channeling his magic into Atlas's sphere. I am going to use it on you. He smiles. As a massive, dark shadow suddenly looms over Marcus's head, completely blocking the sky. The system confirms the action, activating the god-tier relic, Atlas's sphere. Its effect forces the overwhelming weight of the entire world directly onto the target. Without any delay, the massive, heavy relic slams straight down onto Marcus's trembling shoulders. Fortunately, his internal energy was already completely shattered by Apophis's Venom Fang, making it absolutely impossible for him to resist this immense crushing pressure. The stone ground beneath his feet instantly shatters from the extreme weight. All of Joo-hyun's previous playful, joking attitude is completely gone now. His expression is dead serious. The thing you tried to steal is an entire world, so you might as well carry that heavy crushing weight yourself. Yet, despite the crushing, insane weight on his shoulders, Marcus still lets out a mocking laugh. This is only the beginning. He wheezes, the others will never let you off, and your end will be exactly like mine. It is no surprise when the enemy's blood sprays right up to Joo-hyun's eye level. Right on cue, the system alerts him that the invader Marcus is dead. Our main character just calmly watches him, muttering that the guy kept babbling nonsense right up until his very last breath. Look up there. Panic is spreading fast among the enemy's men in the sky. What is going on? Is the dimensional portal closing? Marcus is dead. Terrible. Total panic. They scream in horror, completely unable to accept it. Did he really lose? No way. I am out of here. Jaeha is dancing arrogantly on Joo-hyun's shoulder, mini ramen cup style. Sucking in his steam, he raises his voice. Yeah, go home. Keep fighting and you are dead. You will end up just like him. Joo-hyun smiles, watching the enemy flee in terror. He turns to the weapon that just ended Marcus's life and orders it. Shrink down Atlas Relic. Just then, a massive roar of voices from out of nowhere catches Joo-hyun's attention. They are chanting loudly, "We won! Our king won!" He spots it with a quick glance. A strange connection linking him directly to his subjects in another world. What is this screen doing? Has it been broadcasting my battle this entire time? Suddenly, Jaeha pops up to clear his confusion. Exactly, because Marcus declared a war of sovereigns. Whenever a king declares a war of kings, the rulebook broadcasts the fight to everyone involved across the entire timeline. Since the losing world becomes a colony for the winner, everyone was obviously glued to their screens watching this. After acting like a teacher and dropping all that knowledge on Joo-hyun, Jaeha smirks and points to the next order of business. Since you won this round, why not check out your loot? Looking over at the puddle of Marcus's blood, Joo-hyun repeats the words as a bright light flashes in front of him. My loot? He does not have to wait long before a glowing crimson crystal manifests right in the middle of the air. Joo-hyun furrows his brows and wonders what it is. Right then, the three-legged crow lands on the ground and explains that it is the heart of Marcus. As Joo-hyun catches the item in his palm, the crow speaks with absolute certainty, telling him that it is the heart of a sovereign. Hearing the three-legged crow's explanation, Joo-hyun is still a bit stunned as he repeats her words with deep doubt. A sovereign's heart? Wearing a serious expression, the crow continues sharing the vital information she holds in her hands. With that, you can absorb and use Marcus's sovereign power. Wait, what? Joo-hyun is completely shocked. Is that actually possible? Right then, Chun jumps in with the system data to lay out the choice. His skill is the Conqueror's authority. Do you want it? Now watch closely with zero hesitation. Joo-hyun announces his choice with absolute excitement. Of course I do, that name sounds awesome. Suddenly, a fierce orange light explodes outward, causing Chloe's group, who just ran up to scream in panic, while Seolei desperately calls out to her captain. However, they are forced to stop in their tracks at a safe distance due to the overwhelming pressure radiating from Marcus's heart. In an instant, the energy inside Joo-hyun's body surges violently as he fully absorbs the foreign mana, but then a sudden wave of quiet contemplation replaces his previous excitement. The power of the Conqueror? Is this a conquest-type ability like Chairman Kwan's? The system screen immediately pops up to explain. New skill unlocked, the Class S Mutual Slaughter. Its effect forces everyone, regardless of rank, to view each other as conquerors and engage in mutual combat. Staring at the glowing text, a cold sweat rolls down Joo-hyun's cheek. What is this? Is this not supposed to be a skill that oppresses others? Standing nearby, the crow calmly chimed in that abilities adapt to match the exact personality of whoever absorbs them. Naturally, this earns him a loud, mocking laugh from the miniature Jaeha. It fits your image perfectly, Captain. After all, you do absolutely love causing pure chaos wherever you go. From an enemy's perspective, you are a literal demon, but he clearly crossed a line there, because Joo-hyun immediately screams back at the top of his lungs. Get some boiling water ready, because I am going to cook this little brat alive. Jaeha shrieks in pure terror, begging everyone around to save him. While they continue their chaotic comedy act, the rulebook suddenly manifests, its pages trembling with total disbelief. Hold on, how is this even possible? You were definitely supposed to die. Joo-hyun just smirks, highly amused by its confusion. He does not hesitate to throw the question right back at the book. Look who it is! You were so happy stabbing my chest earlier, but did you only just realize you stole the heart of the wrong person? As you can see, that is exactly what happened. Since I won anyway, do I not get a reward? The rulebook is absolutely furious, veins practically popping out on its cover. But rules are rules, so take this and beat it. Now get ready, because the system pops up with a wild new title. You've officially acquired the Sovereign of Chaos designation. His chances of being ambushed by relics will now increase slightly. Having done its job, the rulebook vanishes into thin air. I am leaving, you annoying king, and I hope you kick the buckets soon. But Joo-hyun does not let the book's cursing bother him for too long. He sighs deeply before offering his thoughts. Whatever, if I draw all the attention away and move somewhere else, things might be easier for you guys. This sudden statement startles Seola under the warm, bright sun. Joo-hyun's calm voice echoes across the field. Why are you so surprised? Since all the trouble in this place is completely sorted out, I need to hit the road immediately. He then details his plans with a serious tone. You guys stay here while I go rescue my daughter and take this guy with me. I have to chase down the rulebook to change Jaeha back and fix this mess. Jaeha looks up with eyes sparkling like the stars in the night sky. Have a safe trip, Captain, and I wish you all the best. Unfortunately, his joy is short-lived as Joo-hyun instantly rains on his parade. You are coming with me. If I cannot turn you back to normal, you are going to be my emergency rations. Those terrifying words are enough to make Jaeha cry out. I am a human being. Any touching vibe they had instantly shatters as Joo-hyun ignores his whining and hoists him onto his shoulder. Ju-hyun's sharp gaze then shifts to the person opposite him. You too, fake Jae-ha. You are going to guide me. The imposter nods without hesitation, only caring about what Ju-hyun thinks of him. Got it. With the two Jae-has dealt with, Seol A immediately steps forward and speaks in a rushed tone. Wait a minute, Captain, are you really leaving us behind? No way, we are coming with you. Ilya also tries to reason with him, pointing out that they cannot trust a guy whose face looks exactly like Jae-ha. He has the face of a total con artist and backstabber. Taking a very serious stance, Chloe chimes in to agree. He is right, you saw how powerful that rulebook was earlier. It is going to be incredibly dangerous, even for someone as strong as you. Let us go together. Ilya quickly agrees, voicing his deepest concern about why he would take that liar but leave his team behind. Standing right beside them, Seol Ah adds that they are comrades and should stick together. After letting them finish, Ju-hyun counters with an equally serious question. Do you want all of us to leave so the enemy can raid our home base while we are gone? After a brief silence, Jae-ha finally speaks up once the others finish doubting him. Ju-hyun is right, you know. Those invaders could attack our base again just like earlier. Besides, the rulebook might issue random missions, and completing them will earn you special privileges. But if you guys fail, there's going to be a penalty. Jae-ha smirks, reminding them that they really need someone to protect this world line. Meanwhile, Yoo-ho confidently decides that this duty now falls entirely on Sona's team. Did you guys hear that? The mission you have been given is incredibly important. You need to complete all the tasks in the rulebook and stack up as many privileges as possible. That will become our core strength. Stay here and help Ajin protect this place. But right as those words leave his mouth, the very person he just mentioned appears right behind him. Are you really leaving? In that instant, filled with the worry of a loving wife, she steps closer to Yoo-ho. It is going to be dangerous out there. Facing his beloved, Yoo-ho tosses cup noodle Jae-ha off his shoulder and turns toward her. Ajin. Yoo-ho gently places his calloused hand on her soft cheek, speaking slowly to make sure every word sinks in. I still have to go, he tells her I need to bring our daughter back home. Do not worry, you know exactly who I am. I have never returned empty-handed. Unlike his cold look when facing enemies, the smile on Yoo-ho's face right now is filled with absolute warmth and tenderness. You believe in me, right? Hearing this, Ajin can no longer hold it in. A single silent tear wells up at the corner of her eye. After a long silence, she realizes there is no stopping her husband, so she throws her arms around him. If you are lying to me, she warns, I will bankrupt you. Yoo-ho softly replies, all right then. After that emotional farewell, Jae-ha steps up and holds out a strange item toward him. Well, shall we get going? A massive question mark practically hovers over Yoo-ho's head as he stares at it. What is up with that beam? Seeing his sheer confusion, Jae-ha does not mind explaining it at all. It is actually a dimensional teleportation relic, though I admit it really does not look like much. A second later, the bean he tosses down gets enveloped in a brilliant golden light and drops straight into a crack in the ground. They do not have to wait long either. Now check this out in the blink of an eye. A massive vine-like stalk erupts from the earth, growing at a terrifying speed. Birds scatter in absolute shock. Within seconds, it pierces the clouds. Watching this close up is insane. Ju-hyun breaks into a cold sweat as he realizes this teleportation relic is straight out of Jack and the Beanstalk. But Jae-ha, remaining completely calm because he saw this coming, casually breaks the news. You can travel to other worlds from the very top of this beanstalk. This completely triggers Yoo-ho, who fumes. How long is it even going to take to climb this giant thing? But then, an idea strikes. He spins around to face Sona's group, who were acting all brave about following him just seconds ago. That is it. He says I only need one person with a movement relic to come with me. So, who is volunteering? Why is everyone suddenly avoiding eye contact? You literally just said you would follow me. Ju-hyun quickly makes an excuse, stammering. Wait, did you not just tell us we had to protect this world? Sona thinks it over for a brief moment, then firmly states, yeah, I am definitely staying back here. Ju-hyun is even more brutal, completely cutting ties. Have a safe trip, man, better get moving. This leaves Yoo-ho screaming at them, calling them a bunch of dirty traitors. Right at that moment, Jae-ha, who started this whole mess, is already way up the beanstalk, shouting down, stop whining and get up here. Once you get started, it is really not that bad. Yoo-ho pouts, repeating his words in disbelief, whining, sighs because he has absolutely no other choice. Left with no options, Yoo-ho starts climbing, giving both his muscles and his vocal cords a serious workout. I am asking you, how long is this climb? No matter how much I climb, it feels like I am barely moving. Sweat drips down his face, but Jae-ha only responds with a deadpan lecture. Look, this thing was built for multiple users. What do you expect me to do about it? I went through hell to get my hands on this relic, so just keep climbing and shut up. Think of it as some great muscle training. Jae-ha maintains his indifferent expression while Yoo-ho whines on instinct. Muscle training? You are the only one who needs that, pal. After delivering that sharp roast, Yoo-ho immediately summons the relic resting in his palm. Heavenly rope, come on out. It materializes instantly, eager to please. You called master? Yeah, Yoo-ho replies. Without a single second of hesitation, he gives it the perfect order for the situation. Can you carry me up to the top? Naturally, the loyal rope does not disappoint him, replying, leave it to me. Riding that external boost, Yoo-ho breezily takes the lead, zooming past a stunned Jae-ha who is left eating his dust. Come to think of it, I have a few movement relics of my own. I will head on up first, good luck down there. Watching this happen right in front of him, Jeha screams out, hey, that is cheating. But Yu-Ho just sneers back. What are you talking about? I am just conserving my stamina. But after getting over the shock and climbing for what feels like eternity, Jeha finally cracks and begs desperately, hey, let me hitch a ride. Time flies by, and by the time Jeha finally claws his way to the top of the beanstalk using pure muscle power, Yu-Ho has already been waiting there for ages. This view is seriously bizarre. Standing at a height where the full moon is massive and clear, the ground beneath them is no longer the city but giant layers separated by massive vines. Yu-Ho looks around and hesitantly asks a question. So does each of those layers represent a completely different world? Jeha nods firmly. Exactly. Having faced so many crazy scenarios, Yu-Ho just lets out a quiet sigh before focusing back on the main mission. Unbelievable. By the way, where did that rulebook guy run off to? He was handing out privileges way too easily. Pointing toward a glowing blue portal, Jeha speaks with absolute certainty as he continues. The rulebook definitely went that way, so I will make a path right over the entrance. Unlike their agonizing climb up, a branch from the beanstalk now shoots directly toward their target, guided perfectly by Jeha. Feeling the cool breeze, Yu-Ho can't help but grumble with a smug look on his face. Please tell me I do not have to sweat like a dog climbing back down when we are done. Replying with a smooth smirk, Jeha pulls off an unexpected sideways dive, landing in a pose that looks unbelievably cool from every single angle. He grins and assures him of course not. Some time passes, and before they know it, the entire group lands safely. Cup Noodle Jeha barely manages to wake up, but he recovers his energy instantly, jumping to his feet to ask a question. Where on earth are we? Did I pass out after falling down with the captain? Wait, there he is. Captain, what are you staring at so intensely? And you are not going to believe what they see next. Right in front of Yu-Ho's team stands a ridiculously luxurious city, filled with grand, extravagant buildings that leave Jeha completely speechless. What is the meaning of all this? World line D32, world name the Cup of Dionysus. Current state, City of Madness is currently active. Observing the chaotic scene before him, Yu-Ho speaks up, his voice tinged with quite a bit of uncertainty. This notification screen is pretty weird. The Cup of Dionysus? Is everyone holding a glass because of this world's name? Well, at least it does not look like a completely destroyed world. The moment Cup Noodle Jeha leaps onto his shoulder, the other version of Jeha asks a suspicious question. Do you honestly think so? The very second he finishes speaking, the local residents suddenly go absolutely wild, screaming out, "Drink up, enjoy yourselves! Hand your physical bodies over to the relic." From the surrounding canals, a strange crimson liquid continuously floods the area, releasing a thick mist everywhere. Even with all his experience, Yu-Ho cannot help but grimace at how incredibly dense this pink gas is. Smells like wine, Cup Noodle Jeha mutters, his senses sharper than ever as he cuts in. Captain, this isn't just alcohol. Right then, the system pops up like his personal encyclopedia, scanning the air and detecting a heavily addictive substance. Yu-Ho completely freezes in shock, uttering in disbelief, what? An addictive substance? Looking closely at them now, it seems not a single person is actually sober. As someone who has traveled through countless worlds, Dushe Ha, a ruler of an entirely different dimension, directly explains the situation to them. That's right. Every single sovereign has their own unique method for controlling their realm. In this specific place, they keep the humans perpetually drunk to paralyze their reasoning. That way, no matter what scheme the ruler cooks up, the people won't be able to interfere. In the next second, his slender finger points straight toward a massive skyscraper, shining amidst a chaotic display of colorful lights. The rulebook of this world has undoubtedly already been delivered to the sovereign of this place. The sovereign's palace is right over there, standing tall and perfectly visible in the very center of the city. Stepping decisively onto the neatly paved ground, Hoen calmly speaks his mind. Sounds simple, and I like that. Let's finish this as quickly as possible and get out of here. This entire area has a pretty nasty vibe to it. But before they can take another step, Dusheha suddenly stops him. Hold on. Skipping any useless chatter, he gets straight to the point. Hey, Hoen, you should check your wrist first. This sudden warning makes the young man freeze and look back in confusion. Huh? When Hoen obediently rolls up his sleeve, a clearly printed number 50 flashes right before his eyes. Why is there a mark on my wrist? In the very next second, the sheer shock of what he sees makes sweat roll down his face. What on earth is this? Staring intensely at the symbol glowing on Hoen's skin, Dusheha is so utterly shocked his jaw nearly hits the floor. He screams out, unable to hide his growing confusion and rage. Why is it already so low when we haven't even done anything yet? Seriously, how on earth have you been living your life to have a default stat like that? 100 is supposed to be the absolute maximum. Hoen stands frozen in place, completely baffled by this bizarre situation. Explain this to me. And what is that weird red mark on your left wrist? Dusheha takes a long, deep breath to calm his nerves before slowly starting to explain. Simply put, it's the core rule of this entire world. The glowing blue number on your right wrist is your sanity gauge. As long as that number stays high, you can keep your mind clear and logical for a pretty long time. But here is the catch. That sanity gauge will constantly tick down even if you are just standing completely still. Now look at your left wrist. That bright red number represents your madness stat. To wield any relic in this world, you actually need a high madness gauge, but there is a trade-off. As your madness levels spike up, your sanity will quickly drain away to nothing. So keeping a perfect balance between the two is absolutely vital to survive the hidden dangers around here. Hoen cautiously asks, wondering what exactly happens if that sanity gauge drops all the way down to 0. His reply is bone-chilling. You will completely lose your free will and turn into a helpless puppet for the sovereign of this world. You will basically become a brainless NPC, just like in a video game. Most of these sovereigns turn ordinary humans into NPCs to keep their rules simple and easy. Hoen furrows his brow, his face tightening with sheer disgust. That is incredibly messed up. Out of pure curiosity, Dusheha glances back at his other wrist. He asks anyway, so what exactly is your madness level then? Without hesitation, Hoen holds up his left wrist, and Dusheha's eyes immediately follow the movement, locking onto the glowing red numbers on his skin. Get this, the second those digits register in his mind, Dusheha screams in horror. 99? He grabs Hoen's arm and shakes it like crazy. How insane can one person possibly be, you absolute bastard? Seeing his companion lose all control and act so aggressively, Hoen's expression darkens as he warns him to watch his mouth. Dusheha's mind is spinning as he scrambles to recall the basic rules. In this strange world, you need a madness gauge of at least 30 just to qualify as a basic relic user. Reaching 70 already makes you a top-tier high-level relic wielder, but 99? A massive wave of disbelief floods his mind. Just what kind of terrifying deep-seated secret is this guy hiding from the rest of the world? With a stat like that, he could easily wield a literal god-grade relic. Yet completely ignoring Dusheha's frantic, chaotic thoughts, Hoen is only focused on the one thing that actually matters to him. So, in short, there is no way I cannot use relics, right? That's all I need to know. Let's go track down the sovereign of this place. Squeezing past the crowd, they push through the noisy streets filled with dancing, drunken people. While Hoen is busy scanning the city, a system panel pops out of thin air, blocking his vision. Let's see what kind of warnings the system is throwing at him now. What is this now? Dusheha glances down at his own wrist, holding it up to check. Sure enough, the numbers on his skin are already starting to drop as well. My sanity is literally dropping on its own. I told you, it keeps draining even if you are just standing completely still. This entire city is like a giant glass of wine. You get drunk just by breathing the air. Hoen's sanity rating is plummeting at an alarming rate, quickly crashing down to 60. Why is mine dropping so fast? Perched snugly on his shoulder, Dusheha cannot resist the urge to chime in with a smug grin. Could it be because you were already a total lunatic right from the start? Glaring, Hoen snatches him off his shoulder and points him directly at a gushing wine fountain nearby. I am going to boil you alive in this stuff. Sensing actual danger, Dusheha immediately curls up in fear, stammering an apology, but right then, a strange, overwhelming aroma of heavy wine wafts past. Hoen freezes, his hands stopping midair. With just one sniff of that bizarre aroma, his sanity stat takes another massive hit, plummeting to a measly 20 points. He quickly leaps back to put some distance between himself and the gushing fountain, pinching his nose shut to block out the overwhelming fumes. This smell is definitely the primary issue here. Looking around, Hoen finally notices an incredibly critical detail he had somehow completely overlooked when they first arrived in this city. These canals running all along the streets are filled with wine or some other dark substance, meaning the air in this entire city has already been completely poisoned by it. Realizing he cannot afford to let his sanity drop any further, he scrambles for a way to save himself. I need a specific relic, something capable of completely neutralizing this overwhelming stench of alcohol. Hey, you fake Dusheha, do you have anything useful? Rubbing the back of his neck, the companion looks incredibly reluctant, trying to avoid eye contact. Are you really asking me to manufacture another relic? Hoen completely ignores his whining, calmly mapping out their next move. Even if you cannot wield relics yourself because your madness gauge is too low, you still have other options. Can't you just use your sovereign authority to create one from scratch? You did say it was your unique skill after all. Rubbing his chin, a highly calculating smirk spreads across Hoen's face. So we should absolutely put that power to use, let's see. Maybe I should make it rain to wash everything away? I want to turn the alcohol in these canals back into normal water. An epic myth flashes in Hoen's mind, thinking of Noah's Ark. Let's summon a massive downpour based on that legend. Dusheha flinches in pure disbelief, shouting out in protest. What? You want me to manifest another god-tier religious relic? Stop acting like this is incredibly easy. It is not even your power we are talking about here. Hoen just waves his hand indifferently, brushing it off as if it is nothing. Can't you just scale down the target area so it only rains over this specific city? Seriously, always whining. You sound exactly like the real Dusheha. Squatting down, Hoen casually traces a messy circle on the dirt with his finger. You know the lore behind that legend, right? The more details you put into it, the higher our success rate will be. Before his partner can even reject the idea, he starts reciting the details from memory. The tale says rain poured for 40 days and nights, the waters rising 15 cubits to submerge the highest mountains. Eventually, Noah's Ark sailed into a brand new world, receiving a divine blessing to multiply all life on Earth. Seeing how perfectly Hoen knows the myth, Dusheha shivers in fear. He takes a few steps back, desperately trying to get away from the lunatic standing in front of him. How does anyone even memorize all of those details? I am completely speechless. Although he continues grumbling internally, he knows there is no other choice. Focusing his mind, he activates his unique sovereign ability to forge the relic. Here it is. But the moment Hoen looks at the newly created item, his face instantly drops with utter disappointment. What is this umbrella for? I wanted a whole Noah's Ark. But despite Hoen's grumbling, Cheha calmly pops open the umbrella to shield them both. This is way better, our clothes won't get soaked, so get in here. Just then, pitch-black clouds roll in from nowhere, rapidly swallowing up the city sky and blotting out the very last rays of light. Dropping his usual playful smirk, Cheha's eyes turn dead serious as he warns him to get under, unless he wants to get totally drenched. The second he finishes speaking, heavy drops slam onto the umbrella, quickly burying the entire city under a massive, blinding sheet of torrential rain. This is a newly crafted A-grade relic called the Rain of Judgment. As the downpour rages on, it mixes into the wine canals running through the city, causing the water to churn violently. Special effect purifies the local atmosphere for a set time. This divine rain doesn't just wash the city clean, its heavy pressure actually snaps Gaha out of his daze as he stands nearby. What on earth is going on? Looking totally baffled, he turns to stare right at his partner standing opposite him, muttering about what kind of weird rain this is. He was just starting to feel the buzz, but his partner suddenly looks dizzy, complaining about a massive headache. Seeing their fun totally ruined, Gaha flies into a rage, looking around wildly for answers. Where did all the wine go? The canal is filled with regular water now. But while those thugs are losing their minds, Hoen is just standing calmly under the umbrella, enjoying the beautiful downpour. He thinks the rain is gorgeous, wishing it would pour harder and wash everything clean so these drunk fools can finally sober up. His incredibly relaxed attitude immediately draws the thug's attention. Screaming that Hoen is the culprit who must die, Gaha lunges forward. But his speed is nothing to Hoen, who smoothly steps aside, letting the attacker crash into empty space. The other thugs immediately draw their hammers and baseball bats, completely surrounding him. They roar in anger, demanding to know why he stole their wine, promising they won't let him walk away alive. Complaining that their fun was just starting, they close in. But Hoen doesn't show a hint of fear. Instead, a smirk plays on his lips as he casually hands his cup of noodles over to Cheha. You guys want to fight? Bring it on. But just as he prepares to strike, a cold system ultimate notification ruins the moment. Due to His Majesty's status discrepancy, summoning relics from other dimensions is completely blocked. One of the thugs swings a baseball bat hard, aiming right for Hoen's head. Fortunately, he ducks down just in the nick of time to avoid the crushing blow. The dangerous swing grazes his head by a hair, sending a few strands of hair flying. Seeing this heart-stopping moment, the little cup noodle Cheha screams in panic. Standing right there, Captain Cheha frowns deeply, unable to hide his intense worry. What can he possibly do without a weapon? Hoen tries activating his ring one more time, but he is met with nothing but absolute frustrating silence from the system. He can't summon any of his gear. Is it really that stupid status discrepancy thing again? This sucks. Thinking his target is completely defenseless, Gaha charges in once more, laughing and throwing petty insults. Acting tough when you do not even have a weapon. Before Gaha can finish his sentence, Hoen buries a brutal, agonizing punch right into his stomach, doubling the thug over in absolute pain. He smoothly snatches the baseball bat from the guy, calmly tapping the crude weapon against his palm with a sly grin. Well, I guess I'll just have to borrow one from the local crowd. The baseball bat swings in a wide arc, smashing directly into the face of a bald thug rushing him. Using that momentum, Hoen spins around, bringing the bat crashing down on another guy's skull. Watching this absolutely brutal one-man beatdown, Cheha shakes his head in a mix of utter disbelief and admiration, muttering that the guy is a total lunatic. Before the heavy weapons dropped by the beaten thugs can even hit the wet ground, a rope glowing with brilliant golden light zips right into action, happily declaring that it will gather up everything. Staring at the sudden appearance of his old treasure, the heavenly rope, Hoen wonders when it even got there. But before he can figure out why this specific relic bypassed the system block, a suited figure runs up. Asking what all the loud commotion is about, the newcomer, Sich Quan, unsheathes the sword at his waist. The blade gleams with a chilling, bloodthirsty light. Claiming he has never seen his face before, Sich Quan points the blade right at Hoen's face. Still choking Gaha with one hand, Hoen casually tilts his head to look at the annoying intruder. He demands to know if Hoen canceled the relic's active effect, proudly declaring this place to be the territory of relic users. But his arrogant lecturing doesn't even last 3 seconds before a powerful fist flies at his face. Hoen lands a devastating punch right on Sich Quan's face, yelling in pure excitement that this new guy is his target and they should leave him to him. Blood sprays everywhere as a tooth gets knocked clean out of his mouth. Instantly, the heavenly rope darts forward, wrapping securely around the hilt of his dropped sword, cheering that it caught the prize. Seeing their strong leader get taken down so effortlessly in a single second, Runchi completely loses his mind in pure panic, screaming out for his boss. Terrified but desperate, Runchi tries to act tough, clenching his fists to threaten him. He yells at Du Hoen, calling him a brat and demanding the high-grade weapon back, claiming a weakling like him cannot even use it anyway. But the moment Du Hoen's fingers close around the hilt, the dormant blade suddenly shudders awake. With absolute confidence, he unleashes a devastating, clean slash through the air. The shockwave from that single swing is so incredibly powerful, it practically rips the air apart, making the ground beneath their feet shake violently like a massive earthquake. The explosive sword energy radiating from him is so intense it blasts away the falling rain, vaporizing every single droplet before they can even touch his clothes. Right behind the stunned thugs, a massive concrete high-rise is cleanly sliced in half by the invisible slash. The entire upper half of the building slowly slides off and collapses. Now watch this, his eyes are literally glowing with pure deadly malice. He coldly tells the terrified thugs they have absolutely no clue what weapon he just picked up, while a trembling Run-Chi desperately tries to adjust his sweaty, sliding glasses. Du Hoen's smug, confident face is reflected perfectly on the mirror-like surface of the glowing red blade, stating that this really brings back old memories. He gently strokes the steel, smiling like he is greeting an old friend. Long time no see, Muramasa. The system screen flashes showing the details of this A-grade demon blade. Meanwhile, the thugs stare at the sliced building in absolute horror. The legs of the remaining thugs and Shichquan's lackeys turn to jelly. They gasp in sheer panic, wondering how he just sliced a whole building with mere sword chi from an A-grade relic. Standing in the pouring rain, Du Hoen looks down on the panicking crowd like they are just clumsy kids. He mocks them for crying over a mere A-grade relic, though he notes this blade always had a pretty hot temper. Suddenly, old memories come rushing back. Back in a brutal battle, he had actually swung this blade so hard that he broke it, but he admits he has handled it quite a few times before. In a flash, Du Hoen moves so incredibly fast he completely vanishes, leaving a faint afterimage in the heavy rain. Before they can even react, his sharp slashes cross together, forming a massive, glowing red net of absolute, lethal light. He ruthlessly tears through anyone blocking his way, declaring their lives over as fresh blood sprays into the air, mixing with the heavy raindrops. Terrified screams for help echo down the dark street as Du Hoen's hands continue frantically swinging, carving terror into every last thug. Watching from a safe distance under his black umbrella, Cheha quietly takes in the bloody sight. His madness rating is 99 for a reason, Cheha thinks, calling him a total psycho. Meanwhile, the little cup noodle Cheha sitting on his shoulder nudges closer, whispering for him to share the details. Within moments, Sichuan's entire squad of aggressive thugs are thoroughly wiped out, left groaning on the freezing wet pavement. With the ground now littered with defeated bodies, Du Hoen calmly walks over and points his blood-dripping blade right at the face of the very last survivor. See, it was not even that hard. You might as well just give up now. Looking down at them with a twisted grin like a demon, straight out of hell, he lays down the law. Hand over every single relic before you leave, he warns. If I search any of you later and find so much as a single hidden item, your heads are going to roll. Absolute terror completely chokes the words in their throats. Shivering, they can only frantically strip off all of their gear. The heavenly rope eagerly gathers all the relics from the defeated crowd into a massive pile. Master, look at all of this. It chirps. I got every last bit. Du Hoen casually glances over at his newly acquired mountain of loot. He nods in pure satisfaction. This is quite a haul, easily enough to use as starting capital. Cheha, however, looks at the messy pile on the ground with absolute disgust. There is nothing of real value here, Cheha grumbles. Just junk like this cracked musical instrument. Realizing his friend has absolutely zero eye for quality, Du Hoen bends down and grabs an A-rank pan flute. This isn't just some cheap toy, it's the legendary flute of Pan, Du Hoen explains. Just one blow of this thing will drive both beasts and humans completely insane. Yet, despite the dramatic explanation, Cheha remains totally unimpressed. Aren't people around here already crazy anyway? Cheha sighs, pointing at another item. What is this thing? Du Hoen squints in that direction. Oh, that is the Feather of Yazoo's, a pretty useful movement relic. Hearing that name only makes Cheha even more skeptical. Are you sure about that? He doubts. Didn't Icarus literally fall to his death in the myth? He lets out a deeply exhausted sigh. It's all just junk. Cheha snaps. You're ruining our reputation for trash. Just give it back. But ignoring his picky teammate, Du Hoen picks up a crude necklace and teaches him a quick lesson. Greedy people who only chase high-tier loot never live very long. Seriously, learn to appreciate cheap trash. It actually has some real value. Just as Cheha is about to nag some more, his eyes freeze on a small object in Du Hoen's hands, radiating a strange, brilliant golden glow. Wait, what is that? Du Hoen flips the tiny item over, looking completely clueless. Wait, look at his face. Cheha stares closely at the coin, and his expression instantly drains of color as he recognizes it. I have seen godlike monarchs in other worlds use that thing before, Cheha stammers. They use it to gamble on a massive scale, literally betting the fate of their entire worlds on a single toss. Cheha desperately warns him that this coin has brought both legendary victory and total, absolute ruin to entire civilizations. It's too dangerous, you need to throw it away right now, he urges. But Du Hoen's reaction is the exact opposite of what he expected. Instead of throwing it away, a dark, sinister grin slowly spreads across Du Hoen's face. A cold shiver runs straight down Cheha's spine. What is with that look? With pure, chaotic excitement boiling in his veins, Du Hoen holds the coin of life and death high and laughs. Then this is easily the most valuable thing here, he proclaims. Cheha is completely stunned by his teammates' utterly bottomless madness. Are you even listening to me? He casually balances the coin on his thumb, getting ready to flip it. Let's test it out right now. Du Hoen grins, will it be heads or tails? Witnessing this absolute madness, Cheha completely loses his mind. Boss, are you actually insane? Realizing things are spiraling completely out of control, Cheha lunges forward to stop him. Don't flip it, he screams. What if it triggers something catastrophic? Ignoring his teammates' desperate protests, Du Hoen remains stubbornly unfazed. I'm calling heads, he says. Watching that golden coin spin through the falling rain, Cheha falls into absolute, hopeless despair. You absolute psycho, Cheha groans. Du Hoen snaps his hands together, catching the coin midair. But when he slowly peels his palms apart to check the result, it is the exact opposite of what he guessed. It is tails, Du Hoen mutters. Instead of panicking over the impending doom, he looks genuinely excited. Well, I guessed wrong. He smiles. Let's see what kind of terrible luck we get. Seeing how little he cares, Cheha begs him to stop playing with fate. But before he can finish, an earth-shattering explosion from the other side of the city rips through the air, shaking the ground beneath them. A massive pillar of black smoke rises into the sky. Damn it. What was that? Cheha yells. Looks like something just blew up. Suddenly, Du Hoen's system interface flashes to life with an urgent notification. The legendary relic of Manhwa has just been destroyed. He stares at the screen, completely bewildered. Since when did I even start a conquest mission? You can actually see the steam coming out of Cheha's ears at this point. You literally just damaged their city, he screams. Of course they're going to treat this as an open declaration of war. Feeling a bit guilty, Du Hoen quickly looks away to avoid his teammates' fiery glare. Come on, you are totally exaggerating, he mumbles. But Cheha is absolutely not letting this go. He points furiously at the panicked crowd fleeing through the heavy smoke. Look at those poor innocent people. It's all your fault. You need to reflect on your actions. But Du Hoen just narrows his eyes, closely watching the mob running straight toward them. Are you sure they are victims? The question completely freezes Cheha. What do you mean? The massive mob is actually armed to the teeth with deadly weapons, charging at them with pure hatred. Protect the cup, they scream. Drive the invaders out. Seeing this massive army of reinforcements, Du Hoen's eyes light up with pure excitement. Bring it on, Du Hoen laughs. Hand over every single relic you have got. Fired up by his master's insane thirst for battle, the heavenly rope beside him begins to writhe and dance wildly. I am completely ready. Cheha, however, is absolutely devastated. How long are you guys going to fight here? High above, satellite cameras capture every single second of the chaotic clash below without missing a single detail. Inside the Capitol security control room, the staff sit glued to their massive monitors in utter disbelief. Their fingers fly across keyboards in sheer panic as severe damage reports flood in from the southern sector. The conquest bar is dropping rapidly. Could this be the work of another monarch? We've got footage of the suspect, but his identity is still unknown, and all the local defenders have been wiped out. Seeing the situation spiral, Den immediately issues an urgent order. Got it. Deploy all units. Yes, sir, the officers shout in unison. Within just a few short minutes, a highly trained elite strike force, armed to the absolute teeth, rushes onto the chaotic battlefield. What they find is a bizarre sight, several figures tied up tightly, hanging completely upside down from a rope in midair. We've spotted him, a soldier yells, and he's got hostages. The captain steps forward, pointing his baton straight at Du Hoen. Freeze, you're completely surrounded, he barks. Hanging innocent citizens from a rope like this, what on earth are you plotting? Du Hoen just looks at him with utter contempt, letting out a mocking laugh. Can't you tell, he asks. I am just drying them off. They were all completely soaked in booze, so I'm kindly washing and hanging them out to dry. Right on cue, Cheha is in the background diligently blasting freezing cold water directly onto the unconscious mob lying on the ground, soaking them completely. Du Hoen intentionally keeps egging them on just to push their buttons. I'm doing a pretty amazing deed here. Right. Don't you guys think I deserve a reward for this? If you are going to give me anything, make it relics, he chuckles. The captain's eyes turn bloodshot with pure rage. You arrogant bastard, he roars, and the entire squad charges forward to arrest him. Unfazed, Du Hoen casually pulls out his newly stolen lute to test its power. You disrespectful brats, try the music of this pan flute. The second that eerie, haunting sound plays, the entire charging squad completely freezes mid-step as if someone hit a pause button. The sinister melody slithers into their ears, instantly making their heads spin. One by one, their eyes bleed a deep crimson as the darkness completely swallows their sanity. Without a shred of reason left, they turn their weapons on their own allies, tearing each other apart in absolute, mindless brutality. Who are you? Get out of here. You should be the one dying. Watching this chaotic masterpiece he just orchestrated, Du Hoen looks incredibly pleased. They sure are fighting hard, so keep having fun together. The heavenly rope wrapped around his arm dances and wiggles in excitement. He casually turns around, calling them idiots, and waves goodbye without a single care in the world. I am off now. But suddenly, a sharp piercing sound slices through the air from a blind spot behind him. A flash of silver grazes past by a hair, leaving nothing but a freezing gust of wind against his cheek. Amidst the chaotic ruins and the maddened screams of the soldiers, a slender silhouette suddenly emerges from right behind the military ranks. Tronjo coldly raises her remaining dagger to eye level, pointing the sharp blade directly at Du Hoen. How disappointing. Ignoring the fresh blood trickling from the scratch on his cheek, he calmly observes his newly arrived opponent. Someone can actually stay sane in this place? With his sharp vision, Du Hoen locks his gaze onto a glowing symbol on her wrist. Her sanity stat is sitting at a perfect 100. Instead of backing down, this discovery only fuels the fire of excitement rushing through Du Hoen. It looks like a highly skilled agent has finally entered the chat. Sheha approaches him at this moment. It is honestly a miracle Pan's flute worked this well. Luckily, they are only facing a single opponent, but dealing with her using only their current relics might prove to be a massive headache. Facing her intense murderous intent, Du Hoen does not hesitate to praise his opponent, asking how she manages to keep a perfect sanity score in a city this insane. You are pretty tough, are not you? Behind her black mask, Tronjo remains completely unfazed by his provocation, coldly telling him to shut up because she is arresting him for disturbing the peace. With a soft click, his fingers are already holding the coin of life and death. He tells her not to be so boring, suggesting they settle this with a little game instead. Tronjo's calm facade finally cracks as her expression changes instantly. That is the legendary coin of life and death used by the sovereigns. How on earth did he get his hands on a relic like that? But her fear does not last long as she quickly forces herself to calm down. No, there is no way. It has to be a cheap imitation. Lately, low-quality copies of that exact relic have been circulating all over the city, causing massive amounts of chaos everywhere. She thought they had confiscated all of them, but a few must have slipped through. Refusing to give him time to pull any cheap tricks, Tronjo lunges forward at high speed, declaring she will not be fooled by such shallow tricks. Hold on, look at this. Before her blade can even graze his clothes, he is already one step ahead, tossing the coin high up into the air. The coin spins rapidly, tracing a sparkling trail of light in the dark sky that completely freezes. Tronjo Sheha holds his breath, his whole body tensing up as he waits for the outcome of this risky gamble. Only the heavenly rope continues to cheer enthusiastically for its master. Du Hoen extends his hands, catching the falling coin with perfect precision, and reminds her that he told her they should settle this with a coin toss. Slowly raising his eyes, he flashes a highly provocative smile. Now, go ahead and choose heads or tails. While Du Hoen eagerly waits for her answer, Tronjos stands frozen, in absolute confusion for a long moment, before finally choosing heads. Who would have thought that single answer would cause the sword in her hand to suddenly explode in such a shocking way? As Du Hoen gleefully mocks his opponent, claiming he won, Tronjo still cannot process this harsh reality. There is no way, she mutters, is this actually a hero rank relic? Suddenly, her glove starts making a loud buzzing sound. Revealing a pretty interesting detail to Du Hoen, her sanity level just took a major dive. Panicking completely as she witnesses his next move, Tronjo screams at him to stop because that coin is indeed the real thing. She freezes on the spot, staring at the terrifying aura radiating from Du Hoen. Wait a minute, if that relic is actually real, does that mean this guy has reached sovereign level? For some reason, he reverts to his usual casual self to negotiate, saying he thinks he will keep using this coin for their match, since he has a really good feeling about it. He claims it is also fairer for her since she is all alone while they are a team of two. Du Hoen's overly cheerful expression is exactly what makes Cheha from the alternate timeline feel utterly terrified. Du Hoen does not even have any relics on him, meaning only one of them can actually fight. The guy can literally lie right to her face without even blinking. He silently watches Tronjo's reaction and is left dumbfounded by the reality. Surprisingly, the bluff actually works. Annoyed, she reaches out to grab that ominous golden coin, agreeing to play but demanding that she gets to flip it this time. The second that delicate coin goes up, Tronjo quickly catches it and calls out heads. The result is revealed almost immediately, landing exactly as she predicted. This causes the heavenly rope to cry out in pain as it takes the punishment for its master. The noisy commotion forces Du Hoen to take the coin back so he can lazily continue the battle, demanding they start the next round immediately. Just like that, the sound of the coin flipping rings out continuously. The turns keep shifting back and forth between Du Hoen and Tronjo, both of them holding on to their own hidden agendas. However, according to the coin's rules, a wrong guess means someone has to take a hit. It is either Tronjo or the poor heavenly rope getting blasted over and over again for Du Hoen's dangerous game. Now watch this, the entire area echoes with loud explosions for a good while. Before the coin turns an unnatural black, Du Hoen stares at his agonizing opponent and chuckles. We have a winner and you lost. When Tronjo angrily snaps at him to stop talking nonsense and just flip the coin, Du Hoen cannot help but let out a sarcastic laugh. Can you really still say that after looking at your right wrist? His friendly reminder forces her to look down and stare at the number 9 currently displayed on her glove. While Tronjo panics over this pretty brutal reality, wondering when it even got this low, Du Hoen graciously displays some mercy by explaining that although both of their sanity stats decrease after every single round, they definitely do not drop at the same rate. My goal from the very beginning was to drain your sanity completely. Hearing this, Tronjo's mind sinks even deeper into despair, calling him a cunning bastard. Her angry reaction only makes Do-hoon tease her more. One more flip and you will turn into an NPC, he warns, setting up his posture to launch the next coin toss. Before bidding Tronjo a mockingly sincere farewell, he suddenly stops and changes his mind. Wait a second, he says. Hand over all of your valuable relics right now and take us directly to where the Sovereign is hiding. Take a route that completely avoids your patrol squads. Quite some time passes as they move silently beneath the vibrant, bustling, and lively atmosphere of the city. Annoyed, Tronjo leads the outsiders through the dark alleyways. She suddenly stops in her tracks and says tensely that they have arrived, telling them they must go on alone from here. Instead of actually following her instructions, Do-hoon frowns and asks what kind of absolute nonsense she is talking about. Tronjo nervously explains that there is no route capable of completely bypassing the city's surveillance network. From this point on, every area is a special surveillance zone, and if she is seen traveling with them, she will instantly be labeled a traitor. Do-hoon pushes her forward without a second thought, acting like he does not care. As Tronjo turns back in a panic, he casually brings up a strange question that has been bothering him ever since they arrived. What is this? You claim this is a special surveillance zone, but why do not I see any of your comrades around? His question leaves Che-ha from the other timeline thoroughly confused, asking if she lied to them. This leaves Tronjo completely bewildered as she looks around. Something is very wrong. Before the three of them can fully process the looming danger, the floor beneath their feet begins to violently tremble. Do-hoon's body instantly alerts him, sending a massive wave of panic as a strange icy energy suddenly crawls straight down his spine. While the crowd stands completely frozen before this crazy, unprecedented situation, total panic erupts. Someone screams out in absolute terror, desperately trying to shake off the lingering alcohol fumes as the ground begins to shift. Every single brick on the floor suddenly slides away, driven by some hidden machinery underneath. In a split second, a massive hole opens up right beneath their feet, sending everyone tumbling down into the pitch-black abyss below. Do-hoon obviously never saw this coming, leaving him so utterly shocked he cannot even finish his sentence. At that very moment, the security chief watches the whole collapse through his surveillance cameras in the control room, completely unable to hold back a twisted, triumphant laugh. It is a total success. He gloats every single target has fallen. He says they really should have done this from the very beginning, ordering his men to seal the entrance immediately. Problem solved. He thinks once those pests are trapped inside the labyrinth, they will never make it out alive. After a terrifying free fall, they finally crash land on the floor below. A foul, musty stench hits Do-hoon's nose instantly, forcing him to drag himself up. Before he can even clear his head, Che-ha rushes over, anxiously asking if their captain is doing all right. But before Do-hoon can even utter a word, John and the other survivors start screaming in utter panic, shouting that this is insane and demanding to know what they did to deserve this. Sighing in relief, Do-hoon mutters that at least everyone seems to be alive, but he suddenly freezes when he overhears two nearby survivors whispering in terror, wondering if they have actually landed in that cursed place. It is the legendary labyrinth they have only heard about in terrifying rumors, where anyone who falls in is doomed to stay forever. Hearing his group descend into absolute despair, Do-hoon grits his teeth, thoroughly annoyed by their defeatist attitude. He tells them to shut up and stay calm so they can actually find an exit. Suddenly, the alternate Che-ha whispers a tense warning, saying he hears approaching footsteps before frantically trying to hide himself away. Already, Do-hoon wonders if the enemies heard them. He immediately drops into a combat stance, ready to face whatever hostile threat is about to emerge from the darkness. The rushed footsteps of a few people echo louder and louder. An old man named Do-suk glances at the crowd, letting out a weary sigh as he asks if even more poor souls have been dropped down here. He groans that the security forces must have dumped another batch of prisoners. When Do-hoon naturally asks who they are, the old man does not hesitate to give them a completely honest answer. He explains they were thrown down here long ago for refusing to obey the emperor. A moment later, a young man named Hun Che steps forward to explain their grim situation in much more detail. If anyone with a sanity rating over 70% tries to band together, the security forces instantly dump them here. They treat anyone who can still think clearly as an extremely dangerous threat. Do-hoon realizes the tyrant did not just ruin the city using the dark power of alcohol, he also actively buried every sane citizen deep underground. Processing all of this, Do-hoon confidently clears his throat, offering them a reassuring promise. He tells them to follow him because he is getting everyone out of here. Unfortunately, Do-suk does not buy it for a second, instantly shooting down his heroic claim with a scoff. And get this, there is a massive catch. Do-suk insists escaping is impossible because the only iron gate out requires you to drink the cursed wine sitting on the wall first. But that wine is basically pure poison. The exact second you let it touch your lips, you completely lose your free will, turning into another mindless zombie just like those puppets above. Your only choices are starving to death down here, or leaving as a brainless NPC. Feeling deeply apologetic, Do-suk looks at Do-hoon and awkwardly says he is sorry, but this is the absolute limit of what they know. Instead of panicking like the others, Hoen just sighs casually, his fighting spirit completely flaring up. He tells them not to apologize, because the simple fact that he is leaving this place will never change. If the gate will not open, he will just smash it to pieces. Grinning, Hoen confidently draws his heavy blade and marches straight toward the sealed iron gate. He thinks it is incredibly lucky he grabbed a useful relic for a situation like this. But before he can strike, the automated security system on the gate suddenly activates, announcing it is measuring his sanity and madness levels. The automated voice suddenly declares that the conditions have been met. Instantly, the heavy gate slowly swings open, leaving the onlookers completely speechless, and honestly, even Hoen is left scratching his head over this. The stunned prisoners rush over to him, shouting in complete disbelief that this is absolutely impossible, and pointing at the heavy gate that just opened all by itself. The system states he met the requirements, but the crowd cries out that it makes no sense. Who could possibly pass those insane terms unless they are completely out of their mind? His madness level is 99. Hunche and Dusuk demand to know who he really is. They point out that normally, as madness climbs, your sanity should completely tank, but keeping a perfectly clear mind while harboring that much absolute insanity is unheard of. Before they can even finish their thought, Hoen just chuckles at their confusion. He playfully guesses it is probably because he is a foreigner, urging everyone to move now that the path is clear. Meanwhile, back in the surveillance room, the security chief gets the alert. Slamming his fists onto the desk in a blind rage, he screams at his subordinates to tell him what the hell just happened. He demands to know why the gate opened on its own. His panicked staff reports that with a madness rating of 99, the target's sanity level should realistically be at absolute 0. They explain it is programmed to open for extreme levels of madness. But the intruder is a complete anomaly. It makes absolutely no sense that the guy is still standing there perfectly fine. Boiling with rage that this freak survived 99% madness, the chief frantically orders his men to salvage the situation. He demands they activate all defensive traps immediately and awaken the second heart, sending it straight toward their path. Meanwhile, as the group wanders deeper into the pitch-black corridors, creepy vines creep up silently from behind. But wait, here's where his insane instincts kick in. Hoen's sharp sixth sense immediately alerts him to the danger, giving him just enough time to react. He instantly draws his sword, shredding the bizarre plants to pieces in a flash, while the survivors stare in complete shock, panicking and wondering if this is another deadly trap. Hoen grits his teeth, muttering how incredibly annoying this is. Suddenly, a terrible odor assaults his nose, instantly draining 5 points from his sanity level as he gasps, wondering what that horrible smell is. Grimacing, the alternate Sheha quickly warns Hoen that their sanity is dropping fast. He points out they cannot just recklessly chop away at these plants without taking serious mental damage. But that warning only makes Hoen angry as he aggressively smashes his sword against the vines, screaming at the bastards to move. Suddenly, a strange, booming echo rings through the chamber, forcing him to freeze. Hearing the weird noise, several prisoners immediately ask what that sound is. Tension spikes through the group as the unsettling noise grows louder and repeats, echoing closer and closer from the darkness. No one knows, but it definitely does not sound good. Right then, a chilling, arrogant laugh echoes throughout the halls as the terrifying labyrinth guardian, Satarat, finally steps out to confront the survivors. Glaring down at the tiny humans before him, the giant guardian mockingly sneers. He laughs at how arrogant they are, wondering how they dare wander his maze while still trying to hold on to their sanity. He promises their sanity will not last long now that they have crossed paths with him. Suddenly, a deafening, high-pitched screech pierces the air, forcing everyone to cover their ears in agony. Watching his own sanity drop by a whole 10 points, Hoen mutters in deep frustration, realizing that simply standing near this beast slowly rots their minds. Paying no attention to their distress, Satarat calmly orders his minions to begin. He tells his lackeys to open the massive wine barrels, declaring he is absolutely going to force these arrogant fools to take a nice, deep drink of his special brew. Instantly obeying Satarat's command, the giant vines swoop in and snatch the helpless survivors, tossing them directly into the massive wine vats. The monsters watch with sheer joy as the humans begin to writhe in agony inside the strange liquid. Even John, an elite soldier, can't handle this agonizing torture. His mind is literally slipping away under the pressure. But right before the survivors completely pass out, Juhyun acts fast. He smashes the giant wine jars, spins on his heel, and completely wipes out those annoying monsters. His cleanup job is over in an absolute flash, no sweat. The defeated monster just groans, grumbling about how he never wanted to pull this trick card out. This actually sparks Satiros's interest quite a bit. He nods in realization. So you're the one who opened that door. But why block my way when your madness stats are already through the roof? Are you just trying to play king with these weak humans? Is that your weird little hobby? Juhyun calmly waits for him to finish before coolly shooting back, watch your mouth. See, I am already a true king and you're the ruler of this crazy labyrinth. Right. This is going to be a battle between kings, and from what I hear, the royalty in these parts usually settle their differences with a game of chance. What do you say? How about a classic game of coin toss? While waiting for Satiros's response, Juheon is secretly grinning inside. He's totally planning to use this little game to buy himself some much-needed time. The monster freezes for a second, then flashes a creepy grin. Fair enough, he says, but I get to choose the game. Personally, I prefer a gamble that involves a lot of alcohol. We have 6 glasses of wine here, and one is laced with deadly poison. Over 3 rounds, you must choose 2 glasses each turn. Hearing these bizarre rules, Juheon can't help but ask out of pure confusion. Why 2 glasses? Satiros nods, explaining the twisted rules to the utterly baffled crowd. That's right, 1 glass is for you to drink, and the other is what you serve to your opponent. Juheon's face hardens as he spells out the ridiculous catch. So you're saying I have to bet my own life once, and then bet your life on the next cup? Satiros flashes a wicked grin, absolutely thrilled that Juheon catches on so fast. Exactly, but before they can even start, the surrounding crowd erupts in loud protests, shouting that this game is completely unfair. They complain that since the monster brought the wine out, he obviously knows which cup is poisoned. Hearing this, Satiros completely loses his mind, screaming at them to shut up. How dare they think he'd do something so incredibly shameless? He yells that he's always dead serious when it comes to alcohol and games. Juheon watches this guy throw a literal toddler tantrum and just sighs. Alright, calm down. So I just have to pick a glass and drink it first. Right. Juheon's bold move to go first makes Satiros absolutely light up with excitement. That's right. Are you going to choose right now? You won't believe what he does next. Over in another timeline, Jaeha is completely losing his mind, screaming at him to stop, but Juheon completely tunes out the panic, casually downing the first glass of wine. Hearing Juheon down the drink brings a wave of dark satisfaction to Satiros, but Juheon just slams the empty glass back onto the table with a grin. Hey, that actually tasted pretty good. Juheon's smug look makes Satiros burst out in laughter. Well, you sure are one lucky bastard, he says. I guess that first cup wasn't the poisoned one. But then, Juheon does something insane. He keeps chugging the next glasses, like he's trying to quench an 8,000-year thirst. This sends Jaeha into another spiral of panic, screaming that he's crazy and should be passing a cup over to the monster. Our captain is literally drinking poison. But despite their frantic warnings, Juheon just gives a relaxed, cocky laugh. Relax, guys. Just wait and see.